Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Ma'at, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
Peace, 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 family. You're tuning into the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. Today we're going to discuss, obviously, well, the two big questions today is, we got this rapper who defended a woman, but he had his hands up. And of course, we're going to talk about why Africa ignores its diaspora. There's probably a reason. And it's apparently it's two celebrities at this point. But we're really going to go into quite a few things. We're actually missing out on some BANs though and ABAs for this week. So if you guys see anything for this week, for next week, just let me know and all that. Other than that though, don't forget that I'm part of a podcasting network and it's constantly growing. And if you want to be a part of it, let us know.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
All right. Let's get to this. Open up this window. So like I said, it's strange, but there's no BANs and no ABAs. And when there's no BANs and no ABAs, see that July 17th? When there's no ABAs and BANs, you can't play the intro. So we're just going to skip right to the manginas. We got 3 manginas this week. Now, see, my thing is this. I do not like seeing violence against women, but the thing about that form of violence you saw is that here's this guy who you would think is a soft dude, and he is a soft dude, right? He's a soft dude, but notwithstanding his softness, right? He's attacking a black woman, right? And you want to keep that in mind for later when you see what the third mangina does, right? In the sense that it's perfectly fine to attack weaker people, right? But what do you do when you encounter a stronger person? That's the question. So anyway, let's go to the first one. It says, "Look, mom, a victim." Look, mom, a victim. Let's see what that is about. I'm gonna go to "Look, mom, a victim." Oh yeah, this one. Yeah. So, okay, yeah. So, basically, this thing is this. I'm so confused. She didn't want help, but obviously needed help. So, here's the sister. She's like, oh my gosh, here comes the first guy. Like, you can see the caption. So, she's trying to fix her tire. And she's struggling, right? So, she's like, here comes the first guy to say something. Ugh. Let the jack down some. Right? Your tire keeps spinning because you got it jacked up too far. Gives advice from a distance but doesn't come to take over. Check. Right? You could watch this video. We could watch it, I guess. It's really just her fixing her tire. Struggling to fix her tire. And apparently, 3 guys are trying to help her, and she's kind of like, from the caption, from the video, you're kind of like, ugh, you almost want to put her in a pass me, right? Here comes the second man to approach me. How you doing? She ignores him and hopes he goes away, right? You got it? I'm good. Seems like you're going to have to pick it up some.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's like you know what you're doing.
I got it.
I got it. All right, baby. You know? Now, again, like, from the context, from everything, you know, you get what's going on, right? Because, again, you know, you're like, hey, last guy, Def, wanted to help, but I was almost done, right? You're like, hey, from the caption, from the video, 2 guys gave good advice but didn't take over. I guess that's a win, right? Question mark. Am I winning from this? Right? I think there was probably a 3rd guy there. And again, you know, you're looking at this, you're like, but Oni, you said this is a mangina, right? This is a mangina. So why are you showing me a pass me? Right? And I get that. But just keep watching. Just keep watching. Right? Because I know what you're thinking. You're like, this looks like a passing, my guy. Right? And I feel you on that. It's just a long video, so I'm just going to let it play. All right, so she shows the result. I guess there was a 3rd guy somewhere there. Right? So like I said, it's, look, mom, a victim. Right? You know, everybody's kind of, you know, beating up on her. I know for sure that man said, all right, ma'am, and not, all right, baby. But like she captioned, right? Old girl should have been on the phone with AAA saying, you know, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's kind of like, damn, what's wrong with this lady, right? Now, check this out. Check this out. And actually, let me see what the comments are saying. Okay, no comments. Everybody's saying good morning. So everybody, peace, right? So this is what it says. This is how I know y'all try to be problematic, because you cut out the part where old girl said she wanted to learn to do it herself, even said, I'm always grateful, but should be able to do it on her own. So this is the beginning of the video.
A man inserting himself.
Trying to change my tire without a man inserting himself.
Let's see how long it takes.
Let's see how long it takes.
I've never been able to change a tire.
I've never been able to change a tire without at least 3 men taking over to do the job
Without
for me.
at least 3 men taking over to do the job for me.
You understand?
I'm always grateful,
but I
should be able to do this on my own.
Right? And, you know, with the whole survivalist mindset coming on, right? So the guy clips out the beginning of the video. You see what I'm saying? So he clips out the beginning of the video where the woman prefaces, look, I'm trying to learn a new skill, right? And I'm grateful if men come to try to help me, right? But I want to learn how to do something on my own, because you never know when shit hits the fan, right? Folk might just, you know, like I might not be able to, there might not be no passive men, you know, to help me out. You know, there might be only aggressive. I'm saying, like, people try to kill me or some shit. You know, you can't trust the next man. So she's like, I'm trying to learn a skill. That's the beginning of the video. So this man sees this video, because it's on TikTok, right? It's on TikTok. He sees this video, goes to the page and says, you know what? I could advance a gender agenda. I can advance this idea that black men are weak, or that black men are can't help. You know, you win it, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I can advance this agenda, and a whole bunch of black folk, again, coming under the chat. A bunch of black men, manginas, like I said, coming under the chat to beat up on a woman. You know, I'm telling you, like I said, when I was in Africa, you know, the thing that was most remarkable about Africa is that you ain't see the gender warfare. You ain't see the gender warfare. You ain't see the I don't like black women. I don't like black men. It wasn't there. This type of shit where, you know, like I said, like, and the thing is this, if you preface this video of, you know, some woman just working her ass off to fix her tire, right? And she's doing it on her own, right? As long as you caption it with, hey, you know what? I tried to do this on my own. In fact, she doesn't have to caption it that way, but she does that, and she respectfully declines every sort of thing. But once you cut out that part and then make a comment, I'm so confused. She didn't want help, but obviously needed help. And how is he confused? You understand? Now it could be you could say, hey, maybe he's not the guy who clipped the video. That's possible, but that tells you that there are black men or even white men going around clipping videos and then giving it to these kind of accounts to propagate and spread it. Let's see. Okay, this guy doesn't have too many followers, but 3,000 followers, not bad. You know? And of course, this thing got 21,000, 13,000 engagements, or 50,000 engagements, if you will. Right? I mean, 3.2 million views. 3.2 million views off of shit. Black women, you know, y'all don't want help? Like, what can we do? I'm telling you that there's an agenda. There's an agenda, and both sides are pushing it. You know, we talk about the divestors, but we don't talk about the manosphere. You know, the manosphere inspired this mangina thing because this right here, I'm telling you, a lot of people. You know, of course, I think I showed some appreciation for this dude for giving the context. Now, if she drive off and that's on her, but the point of the whole video was try it yourself. You can do it yourself and still take help advice. Again, yeah, whatever. I don't even care. I'm not even engaging these people. But y'all see what I'm saying. Let's see what Trigger Happy says. Learning Curve says, wow, the poster is a mangina. Yeah, mangina. Because, like, you know, if you know, any sister wants to do for herself. And she prefaces, hey, I want to go do something for myself. And then somebody else takes that video, cuts off the beginning where she says, hey, I want to do for myself. Right? And then just pretends like she's an independent woman, don't want nothing. Right? And then tries to make it suit that narrative. Right? What are you beating up on a woman for? Like, what good do you get from beating up on? Because, see, if I saw this video, I would have clicked it from the beginning and be like, good for this sister. You got to learn these skills. The new age is coming. You know what I mean? Because I don't beat up on my sisters. Trigger Happy Plus says, 262 Plus says, do you think that being in a settler colonial country versus being around black people has a big part to play as to why there's a less of a gender divide in Ghana versus America? I think one of the things is that you around this white boy. This white boy got a big gender divide himself. You know, the white boy got a really gender divisive, like, and not just that, the religion. You know, the religion of Christianity is like some people accuse it of being the origin of gender divide in the West. You know, so you know if you Christian yourself, it's like this. When you go to Ghana, at least all the kids have I guess the fade or whatever. You know, the kind of hairstyle that black men wear right now. You know, all of them got that cut. You know, in a lot of parts of Africa, all of the kids particularly have that particular hairstyle, you know, boy or girl, right? Whereas, you know, I remember when I was growing out my hair, my mother would tell me, hey, you know, in the Bible, it says women wear long hair and men wear short hair. You know what I mean? As to say that, you know, and I think that's like a little snippet. I mean, it's not that significant, but it's a little snippet of how different populations look at men and women in their youth. You know what I mean? Because a little girl is gonna have her long hair, and a little boy is gonna have short hair. You know, normally in America, right? And that's among white folk. And then the same with regard to among black folk. You know, one population has short hair, one population is long hair. You know, and to the point where, like, if a woman wants to seem masculine, she cuts her hair. You know, I'm talking about like if a dyke is like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna put out some male energy. She's not like she's gonna have some short hair. You know, it's a very gender divided society, and I believe the men hate the women, and I don't blame them. Obviously, I don't blame the white man for hating the white woman. y'all know how I feel about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it more so has to do with just taking up on the culture of Wazungu than anything. You know. Learning Curve says this is an example of why we should control our image, and the trouble is this is not them controlling their image. You know, the lady published it on TikTok, this dude published it on Twitter. It's not like there was any white boy in between. You know what I'm saying? The trouble that adds to this is the fact that we don't even control our minds. You know, it was like Carter G. Woodson said. Carter G. Woodson said, "Look, man, you know, if you have somebody else's mind, you don't have to tell them to go to the back door. They will go to the back door themselves. And if there's no back door, they will make one for themselves." White boy just says, "Hey, look, man, you can go on social media and have fun." Black folk recording themselves and cutting up their own images of their sisters or mothers in this case. You know, their own mothers in this case, because I'm pretty sure this is the younger man, this is the older lady, right? They're cutting up pictures of their own mothers. I know some of y'all say aunties, but you know, their own mothers, and then making it seem like shit. My mama ain't shit. His own mother, and this white boy ain't never. You don't never see the white boy doing this. You don't see the white boy saying, "Hey man, you know, go ahead and you know, why don't you make your mother look stupid?" You know, he don't do that. He said, "Look, the way how I designed you, the way how I educated you, the way how I raised you, right? You're gonna go and tell on your own damn family. And if your family ain't that bad, you're gonna make up shit about your own family. This is what it is. It's not like this. I'm telling you, because this lady ain't even doing nothing wrong. I want to learn how to make a new skill, and then clip it up. I don't need no man. What's wrong with these men?" She didn't even say that. But you know, it is what it is. You know, sorry for the sister that had to deal with that. But you know, like I said, if this sister grows up, or not grows up, she already grown. But if she eventually is like, "I don't like black men," you know what? I ain't gonna be mad at her. Like imagine you do something like this. You do something that's kind of quote unquote self-empowering, kind of, you know, learning a new skill, doing something that's positive, starting off with, "I love how black men help me out, but you know, I just want to learn how to do this by myself." And then some dudes makes it so that 3.2 million people view your video and say you ain't shit. You understand? Probably going up to her page, cursing her out, probably giving her death threats. Now, all because this guy had an agenda against black women, and we just let it slide. But of course, we complain about other people, and of course, you know, I'm not saying we shouldn't complain about other people, but you're letting this slide. Just FYI, you know. Like we letting this slide, but we gonna keep going. Wikis, what's wikis? Wikis. I really need to better description. I think I just I just put down any description. I don't give a fuck. This guy, yeah. As fucked up as this sounds, when my daughters grow up and get ready to have kids, I'll probably push them to date outside their race, so there are a lesser chance of them becoming single mothers. You know, shout out to Paula Dean. Paula Dean. Well, I gotta say the whole name apparently. Paula Dean Youssef, who says, "We have a man with 3rd-degree burns from the fiery building integration." Shouts out Lero. He says, "Take him to the Dr. Umar Hospital." Why did you leave their mothers? Francesca asked, "Why did you leave their mothers?" But anyway, so this is the guy, Joshua, apparently, and he's like, "Look, you know, he's I believe he's South African, probably. You could probably tell from. Oh no, okay, he's not South African. He's from Kentucky, I guess, right? So he's a black man from Kentucky, and he's like, that's him. You know, I usually try to, you know, not deal with whatever. Look, just help my homie look for his baby side. We've been looking for me all day. Oh, jeez. All right. I mean, he's probably a comedian, but anyway. Yeah. So this guy again. What is it? 29,000 followers. For comparison, I got like 3,000. Right. So 10 times more influential on social media than I am. Right. This is like 2,000 engagements, maybe a handful. Maybe several thousand people saw this. This is what the men are pushing. You know, I don't really know why I included this, except for maybe I wanted to use this as a pretext to explain to you, or to explain to our people, you know, what you really need to do to get your daughters into good relationships. Now, you don't push them to other races because that's stupid. First off, the reason why that's stupid is because if you make them value another racial identity, they're going to get into worse relationships, because they're going to get into relationships blindsided by the other person's personality, right? Essentially what happens is this. If you want your daughter to have a good relationship, what you have to do is have a good relationship with your daughter. A healthy relationship with your daughter. And you show her a personality, a strong personality, a loving personality, to the point where when she looks for men, she's looking for good qualities in them. You understand? I used to say that when I was probably in not elementary school, I think like middle school or high school, I wrote something I thought was witty. Something along the lines of, men go to, I think, clubs looking for their wives and finding their mothers and then marrying their best friends or some shit like that. I don't know. Or marrying their sisters, I think I said, right? Which is weird, right? It's just a little weird. But like it meant something. It's like you go to the function, you go out, whatever, and you're looking for your wife, right? And by looking for your wife, you find your mother. What does that mean? Your mother is the woman that you love, right? She's the aesthetic, the phenotype that you love, or that you should love. You should look for a woman that looks like your mother. And not to say like your mother exactly, you know what I mean? Like, obviously that's kind of creepy, it's kind of weird, right? But the mother part, what it meant was something along the lines of well, one, she's your racial group. Your mother's your racial group, right? Two, if your mother was a good lady to you, right? Then those are the qualities that you identify as good. You understand? Like whatever is good about her, like sometimes if you ever notice, a lot of if you ever notice, like essentially what you saw that's good, like the person that, how do I say it? Okay, how do I say this? All right, so there's this article by this lady. I think she's a white lady. I'm not sure, but her name is like Marilyn Fry. It might be a black woman. I don't know. And she's talking about the mythical norm, right? The mythical norm, that's a really interesting, it's a feminist paper, right? It's an interesting feminist paper, though. Because what she's saying in that paper is something along the lines of, there's this mythical norm, right? There's this, white, male, heterosexual, Christian norm in America that doesn't really account for the majority of the population, but everybody identifies against it. It's like the cultural norm. What is the cultural norm and how are you different from it? So a lot of people will walk around and say, I'm black, whereas a lot of people will not say, I'm white, in the same way, right? Or a lot of people walk around and say, oh, I'm an atheist, as opposed to a lot of people who don't say, I'm Christian. And of course, this was written in like the 80s or something. So, times have changed. Maybe people might be more vocal about their unique identities. But, at the time, it was more or less this idea that, you expect of America to normalize one thing, and then everything outside of that becomes like makes people in their identity identify something that's abnormal to that, right? Now, in the home, however, the normal woman is the mother. As you grow up as a child, you look at everything from the lens of, well, how is this different from my mother? You understand? Now Marilyn Fry didn't say this about, the family life, but what I'm telling you, you could just extend that kind of idea towards your real life. And so now, what is a mother, what is a father, or what is a man and what is a woman is defined for you, set for you in the home. And so if you have a man who is in the house and he's like, yo, man, white is best, black is shit, white is best, black is shit, white is best, black is shit. You all of a sudden, if that's the man in your house, all of a sudden you as a child are going to have to define yourself along the parameters of reacting to your father's input. Okay? So either you might take another angle and be like, you know what, my father's a fucking idiot because he's always about black ain't shit. Or you're going to take an angle of saying, yeah, you know what, black is shit. My father was shit. Now you might say, well, look, if I could go either or, then what's the problem whether I'm positive or negative, right? And the reality is this, that you just want to start off positive. And starting off positive gives you that much of a greater chance for the child, for the youth to be positive as well. Because you could always just be like, you could always be the negate the negative and still not just be positive. You understand? You can negate a negative and be neutral. So you know, realistically, because it reminds me of so I said when they marry their sisters, what I meant is that, you know, sisters like your best friend, you know, your kin, you know what I mean? Like, she close like that. She close like family, you know, like sister. You know, it was a play on words back when I was young. But I say all this to say, you know, because it reminds me now of my own sister, who I was like, you know, I think I showed her something, or I said, you know, hey man, I hope you're not doing any of that Vesta nonsense, because that's what people are doing on the internet, and you just had to reach out to your sister. And she's like, look, I can never hate on black men because my brothers are too good to me. You know what I mean? And that's all you have to do. Like my sister was she was like, I need to make some money, and I was like, hey, you know, you could try writing a book, writing a bestseller. Hey, look, I'm gonna give you some money. Send her some money. Say buy some fiction, read it, and then try to understand how to write better. You know, you just do those. And she's like, hey, you know, I appreciate it. I read these books. I enjoyed it. Thank you. You just got to go and reach out and be a good man. And then the whole thing about, because see, you contrast that to the last mangina. The last mangina was like, hey, you know what? Here's how I'm gonna, you know, shit, black women ain't shit. Look at this lady. She ain't shit. That first off, even if that were the case, that this woman had that video so negative, right? You highlighting it don't help nothing. But the fact that you manipulated the video in order to make this woman look worse tells us that, yeah, if I were a black woman, I'd be like, yo, these black motherfuckers ain't shit. It makes sense. Trigger Happy says, great point. Children often look at traits of a good man or woman based on the adults around them. To me, I think it's further than that, though. We need to have mechanisms of creating good men and women. Yeah, the mechanism for creating good men and good women are parenting. It's parenting. You know, I think I wrote that in my first book or second book, whatever. Right? That, you know, what parenting is making good parents. You know, your whole objective as a parent is to make good parents. You know what I'm saying? So as now of course that's what I said before I had kids. But like realistically, the end goal of not the end goal, but eventually my son is supposed to make me a grandfather. You understand? And if somehow he doesn't make me a grandfather, that's all well and good. I'm not gonna, you know, shame anybody for that. But realistically, you know, you always hear, you know, parents talking about, man, I made me a grandparent. Made me a grandparent. You know? And whether or not the quality of you're like if what you do is you push your child to essentially, like let's say if a parent pushed their child to suicide, you'd be like, hey, that's a bad parent. You know what I mean? If you push your child to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to deal with the opposite sex, right? That's another thing. If you push your child to say, hey, you know what, I don't think I'd ever want to have a family. I think your example is bad, right? There's so much there. Now, obviously, you know, again, you know, like there's no judgment. You know, everybody does whatever they want. And of course, you know, me personally, I mean, obviously, I didn't, you know, like I only have one kid. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And like, even then it's like, shit, I should have, you know, maybe it was the wrong woman, but, but you know, it is what it is. But realistically, that is, like that's one of the goals. That's the mechanism we have in place. of creating good men and women. You know, they're created in the household. They're created in the household, and they get training from birth by certain people, and those certain people are supposed to be us. Trigger Happy says, we also need to have marriage protocols culturally. I think that this is rather non-existent, and if they are, it's usually Eurocentric. Well, if you could speak on that, let me know. Not 100% sure what you mean. I think I skipped something. It says, this might be controversial to say, but we should let him do it. We don't want black people who think like this to pass their message and let their children intermingle with us. We should let him do what? Push his kids to marry outside of his race? Well, I mean, if he already did it, sure. If he has mulattoes, yeah, sure. Let the mulattoes go to whatever. But, you know, I don't know. I don't really know. The issue is not so much... See, the issue is with this guy is that here he's black. Matter of fact, he's Black American, right? And what he does is essentially he's saying that Black Americans are like abandon their wives, and that's not a you know, it's not necessarily unique to Black Americans. It's not necessarily unique to Black people. Obviously, I can't necessarily say that I stuck with my ex-wife myself. You know, there is this reality that, you know, personalities, you know, that relationships are harder than sex. You know what I'm saying? You know, sex is easy. Relationships are hard. But you know, that, you know, a lot of this kind of comes back to the reality that black folk are generally in urban environments, generally lack social educations, among other things. It's a really bad situation we're in, but we don't notice it, and we kind of just keep going with it. And you know, this is kind of the result. I don't know if I think I have that article, so you guys can. Essentially, the way how we're living is kind of scientifically destined to screw us over. But you know, it is what it is. Nobody wants to listen to me. So, you know, we'll just suffer indefinitely. This was inside of the pro-black compendium, right? So housing projects, human experiments on black self-destruction. So there's this paper. Actually, a brother just asked me about this. White scientist named C. Calhoun, right? Calhoun, in 1962, writes this book, Population and Density and Social Pathology. This is somebody summarizes the observation. Basically, what he does was they put rats in a limited space with unlimited food, right? So they basically made the projects. They made a housing complex for rats. You know, gave them a lot of high rises. They put rats in high rises, and they had a lot of food available to them. And this is the result that happened. So I'll just read it again, so people can understand that, you know, how you live it's been known to be important. So this article again is in the pro-black compendium, but of course I put it originally on for free on this website, but I figured the book would reach more people than the website. So it says 1962, and this is like the year before high rises became a thing in America. But it says observations made of rats which were supplied with unlimited food but limited space, and high rises no less, showed that dominant males became aggressive, some moving in groups, attacking females and the young. Mating behaviors were disrupted. Some became exclusively homosexual. Others became pansexual and hypersexual, attempting to mount any route they encountered. Mothers neglected their infants, first failing to construct proper nests, and then carelessly abandoning and even attacking their pups. In certain sections of the pens, infant mortality rose as high as 96%. The dead cannibalized by adults. Subordinate animals withdrew psychologically, surviving in a physical sense, but at an immense psychological cost. They were the majority in the late phase of growth, existing as a vacant, huddled mass in the center of the pens. Unable to breed, the population plummeted and did not recover. The crowded rodents had lost the ability to coexist harmoniously, even after the population numbers once again fell to low levels. At a certain density, they had ceased to act like rats and mice, and the change was permanent, right? So right here, it says, in 1968, the Housing Act of 1968. And here's the interesting thing about the Housing Act of 1968. And again, this is an article in the Pro-Black Companion. I just copied it from the website and put it in the book. It says, on the surface, the Housing Act of 1968 prohibited the use of high-rise developments for families with children. So you look at the original act of the Housing Act of 1968. They said, these are buildings that are not suitable for children. Unlikely given how many children are in the high-rises. The real legislation in that law was Section 235, which gave white people a means to get out and live in the suburbs. So you could look up the Housing Act of 1968. You could read through it, and it's like, yeah, we should not have children in it. I think I could probably just Google it for you. But, I mean, I'm not like part of me is like, should I, should I test what I just said? Okay, this is probably it. Wait, is this it? Is this... I don't know if this is it. No, this is not the act. Is this Fair Housing Act? Yeah. See, you'd wanna look at the. Yeah, it'll probably be a little too hard for me to search it. But why I point this out? Let's see, maybe if Wikipedia has like a reference. Let's just see if it says children. Protects people, no, families. So let's see. Refusal to sell. Discrimination. No. So this is like the whole Civil Rights Act. So it's like, but anyway, you guys look it up if you can. But yeah, you'd have to look it up. I wish I could, but I don't. Like, I would have to look it up. And this is the Civil Rights Act instead of the Housing Act. But the Housing Act of 1968, that's what it tells you. So why do I put that out? It's to say that, there are, like, this was a popular study the white people circulated from 1962 forward that said, hey, you know what? Social pathology is linked to population density. Okay? It's linked to population density. If black folk, if African Americans particularly are mostly in urban environments, right? They're mostly like the social pathologies are going to be focused on them, right? Let me just drink some water. Hold on. Anyway, so, and like this is like from like comic books and shit. You can see comic books, films, novels. They all kind of hint to Calhoun's experiment, all that kind of stuff. I point this out to say that, yeah, you're going to find the social pathologies that make us kind of hard to find relationships. That make it kind of hard for us to keep relationships. It makes it kind of hard for us to breed, to have children, to want to have children. I remember this one sister, she was like an interracialist, but then later on she's like, I'm not going to bring a child into this world, because of so on and so forth, because she's in the city, she's like, hey, the population's too high already. And of course, you have that opinion of population's too high already when you're in the city. When you're in the rural area, you're like, there's not enough people. like when you're in the village, you're like, there's not enough people. But when you're in the city, you're like, damn, like we're tripping over each other. The freaking subway's packed. So that's a thing. That's a thing. I can just say that. Let's see. Let me see if there's any comments to that though. A very important article, and like I said, you guys could check it out in the Pro-Black Compendium, right? Of course, you could also just look at the freaking link. I have other stuff in the Pro-Black Compendium because I said I'm not going to put everything online for free, because then why would you buy the book? But I also thought this was good enough to. Good enough to include in the book, as well as good enough to keep on the website. So make sure you guys check that out. So this is the next one. Shout out to Brother Forecast. He put this up. Although I'm going to take a different position from him in this one, because essentially this is a incident that happened basically some black woman is getting arrested. Delivery driver getting arrested for some reason. Some officer slams her on the ground. And so Styles P runs to the rescue. So if you guys don't know Styles P, he's a rapper. I mostly know him from I Get High. Yeah, I Get High, whatever, right? So he sings that song. Anyway, apparently, allegedly he has like some black empowerment songs too. But, you know.
Yo, you're broken. Hello. Yo, I'm recording.
So that's a woman right there.
I'm recording. He's a bitch. I know he is.
No, keep recording.
I'm recording.
Yo, keep recording,
I
man.
hope your camera's on because you did
Yo,
it the last
sister,
time at the
loosen
water.
up. Loosen up.
Loosen up. Please do.
Sister, relax.
Please.
Yo, you's a hoe,
That's
bro.
a girl too, by the way.
You's a fucking hoe, man.
That's a girl, by the way.
Yo,
And I
you's a
got you
whole
on camera.
bitch.
I hope you got me on
You's
camera.
a whole bitch. I'ma back up. Don't touch me.
I hope you got me on camera.
Yeah, you scared too.
I hope you got this on camera.
You bet.
I hope. Yeah, you need it back up.
Keep running up.
You need it back up.
You see, now here's the thing. So they're gonna like, you can watch it. They're gonna like curse at the dude and be, you know, curse at the overseer. You know, you a bitch, you a weakling. But like, he has his hands up. You know, and he goes up and tells the lady, "Hey, loosen up." Basically, surrender. You know, his hands are in a surrender position. He tells the lady to surrender. And the thing is this, that this is realistically, now this is the image of manhood in the black community. He's going to be praised. You know, Sal P is not only going to be praised, but later on he's going to say, "Look, I'm just standing up for poor people. I'm standing up for black, Latino, poor whites. I stand up for any poor people," kind of thing, right? On top of all this. But my thinking is this: if all you can do is surrender, right? And that's not to say that. Look, I'll just preface that realistically with, you know, normally, like pretty much in any society, you're probably going to have to surrender to the authorities. The only difference here, however, is that these authorities are imposing a legal system or legal values that you take no part in constructing, or you take no, like, has no background or no foundation in your cultural values. You understand? So
You need it back up.
keep recording. Hands up.
You need it back up. That's a female.
You're a
That's
bitch.
a female. Hope your camera's on. That's a female. That's a fucking female. That's a fucking female. You a bitch, nigga. Outside that uniform, you know what you are.
You're a bitch, N-word.
You know exactly.
You guys could probably watch on your own. Eventually I think later on he's going to explain,
check it. Now,
you know,
look.
I shouldn't have done that. Basically, he was just agitated because, you know, it's a woman, which is commendable, you know? But again, it's like, realistically, as much as you may walk away from this and be like, well, like a lot of people are walking away. This is why real ones like myself love Style P. You know, I'm bumping Style P all day. I respect you, Styles, you know. And of course, if you look at this video, what he says is something along the lines of, you know, all lives, you know, kind of shit, you know. Like, you know, it ain't just about black, it's about, you know, white, it's about poor, it's about rich versus poor kind of shit, right? But you realize that, like, what is it that you're going to accomplish in a hostile situation like this? You know, how is it that your method of fighting is going to be not fighting? You know, it's going to be begging for mercy. It's going to be just putting your hands up, surrendering. How is that the commendable, recommendable action? How is that? Yeah, I was looking for a rhyme, you know. I was like, recommend, you know. It's Styles P, you got a rhyme, right? No, I'm just messing. But yeah. So that's what I wanted to highlight. I mean, obviously, you guys can listen to this video if you want. You know, obviously, click on the study below, and you could find all these links in the thing. Let me see what the chat's saying. Chat's not saying nothing, which is interesting. Somebody say something. so I could whatever. But the thing is that, you know, like that's it. Like this is where we are now. Again, like I would say is that, you know, yeah, if you were in Zulu town, you would probably surrender to the Zulu authorities. But again, if you're in Zulu town, it's probably because you agree with the Zulu way of life. You agree with the Zulu way of handling things. You agree with how extreme the violence is from the Zulu authorities, right? But here inside of these Western countries, you don't agree with any of that stuff. Yet you're there. And your only method of resistance is to have your hands up and commend everybody for putting their hands up. And say, hey, it's not fair. Why are you doing this to me? You know? If the overseers come out and shot Styles P in the chest, right? Just shot him in the chest. You would just say, well, his hands were up. And the thing is this, if they did that, you wouldn't even think that was unusual. You would say, well, shit, that's all it is. We can't even put our hands up when we're black. Or you'd say, the city should give his son some money. And I'm not lying. If they had done something to him, you would do nothing to them. You would ask them, well, can you give me some money? Can you give him some money, please? Because you did something bad, so can you give him some money? And you know that. So if you find yourself in that situation, right? Now, the fact that you find yourself in that situation, why should black women look up to you or respect you as men? Why should they? You know what I mean? It's like if a man is smaller than me. I'm not saying these men were smaller than Styles P, but they weren't necessarily too much larger than him, if they were larger at all. But if a man is smaller than me, and then he let's say he slaps me in the face while I'm with a woman. I'm with a woman and this dude just slaps me in the face. And I just look at him and I say, please don't do that again. Right? You think the woman is gonna say, hey, this is the man I wanna lower my guard with. This is the man who will keep me safe. You think that's what you think that's her conclusion? We're gonna go to the next subject. So I believe the next one is gonna be the past me. So it's a good thing we got some past me's. Let's check it out. All right, so we started the music. Okay, y'all like that? It's that nice some sort of vibe over here. Lero says peace, loved ones. Peace, Lero. So we're gonna talk about some nasty ass past me. So I'm glad you joined. So look at this shit right here. You vabbing. So this is the new thing. So I'm telling y'all, if it smells like fish where y'all at, just understand there's a new trend going around. Pass me. I was hoping this was deleted, but I guess it's not. Imagine being this desperate for partnership. So vabbing, you search vabbing, and it's like basically you wear your vaginal fluids as a perfume. You put your fingers inside yourself, dab your juices on your wrist, neck, behind the ear, wherever you normally put perfume. People talking about it on TikTok reckon the pheromones from your poussoir will help you attract partners, and they swear by it. So that's from an article called Vabbing, the TikTok trend that says you should use vaginal juice as perfume. Yeah. So like I said, yeah, so people just whatever. Like I said, imagine being this desperate. Yeah, so this is a thing. And I guess, it's not really exclusive to black women. Looks like some white women doing it, but I'm just doing WB. You know, I'm just Warner Brothers. You know what I'm saying? I'm just Warner Brothers in this sense. I'm Warner Brother at this sense. Yeah, if you're outside and you smell like, whoa, when did I walk into the fish market? Understand there are women. I mean, it could be helpful because you know some of them ain't cleaning themselves. You know, yeah, you smell it somewhere rank. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, can't really say much beyond that. This is just a little bit strange and a little bit weird, a little bit fun, but you know, it is what it is. Here's a real Captain Save-A-Ho though. It's another pass me I want y'all to see. And actually part of me just really wanted to talk about the underlying issue. Sometimes, you know, you see these white folk talking about something and you say to yourself, I kind of want to talk about it, but let me find a black person to talk about it too, right? So basically this white boy comes out of nowhere. He says, OnlyFans is a predatory business which lures in primarily young women with promises of earning in their desperate times. But only the top 4% make over $400 a month, and the median income is $145. This means you have a less than 1 in 25 chance of even making minimum wage, right? So this woman says, look, as a top 1% who also does mentoring and coaching for creators, I assure you that your numbers are incorrect. It's closer to 25 to 30% making $500 each month. The percentages also include thousands of inactive accounts and fans who have dual accounts and not active creators, right? So, you know, what this white woman is saying is, first off, she a hoe, right? But second of all, she, no, I'm joking. If you're on OnlyFans, I'm not hating on you. I'm just hating on white women. But what I say is that she's trying to point it out that, you know, if you look at percentages without taking into account into whether the accounts are active or inactive or dual or whether they're fans, then of course it's going to be skewed to the lower end because a lot of the inactive accounts and the fans and so forth are making $0. So you're going to bring the average down, right? So she's saying, look, if you do fucking basic math, I can tell you that it's not that way. And then she goes, if you want to point fingers, do so at our predatory lending and education systems. If there were other attractive occupations that you could make 6 figures a year without coming out with debilitating debt, you'd see less people on OnlyFans. This is our economy, not the industry. And so, you know, again, it's white folk fighting over dumb shit because they're just dumb. And, you know, you should, like, just leave them the fuck alone. But you got Captain Save-A-Ho, right? So this is the pass me. She goes, there are, and trade, I guess she says there are something. There are, and trade certificate programs offer great paying jobs. It may not be 6 figures, but it's enough for a good life. Public colleges are affordable as well, as especially if you're poor with FAFSA. I didn't pay a dime for my bachelor's of arts. There are other options because $500 a month is low, right? Now here's the issue. It's like, so she's gonna give this lady, you know, some game, and it's like, why are you? If there are good opportunities, and not to say that these are good opportunities because you're still working for white, you're still holding yourself in some way, right? But notwithstanding, if there are good opportunities, and the white folk don't see them, then take them for your damn self. What are you giving game to other people for? This is one of the issues with black folk, is that we continually give game to other people. You ain't never seen no other group of people pull you to the side. I mean, except for maybe white Americans. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But you ain't never seen no other group, no other minority group pull you to the side and say, yo, let me show you some game, right? They don't do that. They either keep it among their own people or they either point you to the wrong direction. You know? Like, other people might be like, yo, you want to sell some drugs to your community? Right? They might do that. They're not going to say, hey, you know, there's a new, solar technology firm that's hiring. You understand? You have to, at some point, look at other groups of people, and when they're falling, let them fall. This woman wants to, spread her legs for money. Let her. Encourage her. Say, hey, you go, girl. You know, and if you know there's good trade certificate programs or what have you, right? Good public college, you know all that kind of stuff. If you know that's what's going on, then you just push it. You just tell your own people. You say, hey, you push these white folk to do this other, so that the people who are hiring, if that's what your goal is, to increase employment or to get employment, secure employment for women, right? If your goal is to secure employment for women or secure employment for black folk, right? Then what you do is when white folk are giving up on the employment opportunities, you let the employer now, in their desperation, go to you. You know, if the top candidate is on OnlyFans, right? Then you, the second top candidate, gets the job. But now if you're telling the top candidate, hey, why don't you go apply for the job? Then guess what? You don't get the job. And my top candidate, I might even say the candidate that they are racially preferred towards. You know, if you go to a business and a guy's like, hey, I want to hire a white man, right? But no white man applies, right? Then they're gonna hire a black man, black woman. That's it. So instead of being Captain Save-A-Ho, and this is like in the literal sense, right? Just let him go. But as far as this thing is concerned, this is just typical city stuff. Women looking to are people looking to make money off of thing, and then there's nothing to complain about. This really shouldn't be something that generates an income, but if it does, it does. That's how the world is, and that's why I'd say it's not a predatory business in the same way that basketball is not a predatory business. Singing is not a predatory business. These are not predatory businesses promising you to make money. The reality is that it's an entertainment industry, and unless you are somehow entertaining, the chances are you won't make it in the entertainment industry. That's not predatory. That's just the reality that entertainment has been a typical way of people making money in the West. It's always like the opera from Once Upon a Time was a well-paying gig. I was telling somebody actually, because some brother was telling me about, African American, blah, 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 blah. And so I was reading Adam Smith, and the guy's like, hey, the opera singer makes a lot of money because it's a pathetic fucking industry. No self-respecting person would actually do it, but because it requires skill and because no self-respecting person would do it, they make a lot of money. And he's talking about opera. It's nothing to do with, stripping, nothing to do with, whatever. He's just pointing out that singing and entertainment is not really, it's kind of like an unproductive thing that works in the city, but basically you're just entertaining people. And so when these white folk, they walk away and say, why am I not making more money? I'm showing off my tits. You got to be entertaining. That's the world. It's just like when you look at this podcast and you say, hey man, you're cycling between 5 and 4 5 and 8 viewers, right? Yeah, you're like, yeah, but maybe he's not that entertaining. And I don't stress over it and say, well, I'm talking and therefore I should make a bunch of money. I just say, what, shit, that's fine. I'll see if I could be more entertaining somehow. That's how life is, So I could actually read some more of this if y'all want, because it appeals and not surprising when you go into college and accrue tens of thousands of debt with every decent job demanding you manifest 10 years of experience out of thin air, but friends don't tell friends to do OnlyFans. Most people who make money on OnlyFans didn't start on OnlyFans. They built their following elsewhere and then took those people to OnlyFans. The modal pays out for OnlyFans is $0. The next step is $5. The field is also high risk for ruining your future options and relationships. This is not to say young girls weren't preyed upon by the sex industry before, but it's made it more accessible and normalized. To its credit, services like OnlyFans have made some areas of sex work safer by putting control of who they work with in the hands of creators. Apparently people are taking huge risks with one number. Sorry if it doesn't represent you, but the algorithm is closed and data is very difficult to reliably source. Another reason OnlyFans is a predatory company. People's livelihoods depend on it. Their numbers shouldn't be opaque. Now, again, this is just complaining about something that you shouldn't even complain about. If your whole job is if what you want to do is just make money off of entertaining people, which you could say is, you know, what a lot of black folk are doing. It's called like a lot of the grifters, for the basis of them is that they're entertaining. You know, they're entertaining people. You know, Tariq Nasheed is putting out puppet shows and entertainment, you know, quote unquote conscious entertainment, but entertainment no less. If the whole thing is that I want to entertain people, so on and so forth, it's not always going to pay out because it's a competitive genre at this point. It's a competitive genre. And so you're going to have, it's like with basketball, you know, unless you could beat LeBron James in a one-on-one, chances are you're not going to make all that kind of money. Right? But LeBron James will, because LeBron James could beat LeBron James in a one-on-one. I don't know. Like he could probably. Actually, no, most likely, 100% of the time. But, I mean, as long as somebody has to win. But anyway, the point being that if you can't say that's a predatory business because not everybody makes it in the entertainment industry. Even if they're doing the same exact thing. You know, when I go on the court, I'm doing this like when I'm on the court, I'm doing the same damn thing LeBron James is doing, minus Duncan. But you know, the same with the side. Like I'm kicking the ball, I'm shooting the ball, I'm doing, you know, but I'm not gonna make money. Doesn't mean it's a predatory business. So I just wanted to clarify that, you know, particularly for the comrades. But in essence, you know, like if you know there's a better opportunity, then just leave these motherfuckers alone. You know, just leave these motherfuckers alone. I'm not 100% sure if I have an ABA this week. So yeah, I don't have an ABA this week. I think maybe I have a comrade. Yes, I have a comrade. So let's go to the comrade. Let's go to the comrades.
到最后千万不要可怜他们，你要记住这个东西，千万不要可怜他们，不管是他们家里怎样了，不要可怜他们，这是最主要，你把这句话放在心里，对待黑人。
So actually yesterday we looked at a Chinese ad, like two Chinese ads, or two Chinese videos on Shoot the Breeze. You know, it actually starts off with a discussion on how the Chinese are saying come to Africa and why they're saying come to Africa. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, just bagging the good looking women, getting the good looking women and being a baller while you do so off of little money, getting a woman to cook and clean for you, living a humble existence. And she's good looking and she's having your baby and she's raising your baby. And she's speaking your language and she's cooking for you. And you're basically a community giant when you go to Africa, and so they were saying that, and yet you see, you know, like the guy was saying, you never really pity them. You just Mr. Untouchable, shout out to Mr. Untouchable. He said yesterday that Columbus's priest or something like that. I don't know, but one of them came down and they saw the natives and they were like, "Hey, these people are nice. They're kind. They're hardworking. They'll make good slaves." That's how everybody's looking at you. But anyway, Bit of Medicine says OnlyFans is hoeing, you know. So you already know, OnlyFans is hoeing. I'm not gonna, you know, whatever. But here, right here, this is another one. So this is the comrades. Oh wait, you know what? I was supposed to include this one. Retrospect. Yeah. Y'all said I was corny, so I actually had two of them this week. Cause I kept saying to myself, I thought I had a second one. So it goes right here. This is yeah, y'all said I was corny. So I'm gonna turn off the music for a second, and then we're gonna just play this right here. I said y'all said I was corny. You know. This is International Magazine, motherfucking commies.
In solidarity with Palestine. Yes, we are in solidarity with Cuba. Yes, we are in solidarity with Iraq. Yes, we are in solidarity with Somalia. We communists.
Viva communists.
Yo. Yo. Banga is the subscribe to International Magazine. We communists only fighting for his world peace. We first of its kind in the 21st century. We never behind. This is the place to be. Subscribe to International Magazine. We communists only fighting for his world peace. We first of its kind in the 21st century. We never behind. This is the place to be. A global team of 35 communist leaders with researchers from 25 countries. From Russia, Palestine, South Africa, India, UK, Kuwait, Jordan, and Kenya. Publishing a magazine is now from India with others from Europe, promotion Africa. Our aim is to counter capitalistic media and to make Marxism, Leninism bigger. Yes, we are biased, we are anti-capitalist, we are anti-fascist too. We are anti-imperialist, we are leftist media, and we find that very cool. Loyal to our readers, we are very free from cooperative involvement too. For development, support from our readers is a main survival tool. Subscribe to International Magazine. We communists only fighting for his world peace. We first of its kind in the 21st century. We never behind. This is the place to be. Subscribe to International Magazine. We communists only fighting for his world peace. We first of its kind in the 21st century. We never behind. This is the place to be. Subscribe for $2.5 per month or $25 annually if you can. Fighting capitalistic propaganda is our plan with fact. These terms we ain't using no gun. All you need is nothing but your support, and together no lie we get far. Fighting for the commonized, what to do a lot. Let them leave Palestine, Somali, Iraq alone. Communist outlet that's global. Tackling capitalist is a no joke. They made us live hard life like it's normal. We writing facts here only no porojo. We are well known, we are local. To our readers we are very loyal. We have a staff and workers who are top notch. We ain't stopping no soon, we still going on. Communist.
You know, I'm not gonna hold you. I thought it was corny the first time I heard it, but what y'all think? But yeah, you actually noticed that there was like a sister there. I think she was in black, and you saw how she had short hair too. You know, so it's like it's a pretty, like I said, it's not as divided along the lines of hair, and all that kind of stuff. Bit of Medicine says de la casa, de la casas. Not exactly sure what that means. I heard a de la soul. I don't know what de la casa is. Tanzan says peace and greetings to Oni. So peace and greetings to Tanzan. But yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't as lame as I thought it was, but it was kind of lame. I mean, I think I had better bars than that, you know. Like I had better bars than that. I shouldn't play it though, because the last time I played my bars, Tanzan left right away. So I'm gonna just leave that at that. I mean, maybe Tanzan left because of these communists. But anyway, Bobby E. Wright says greetings to the PBP. Thank you, Bobby E. Wright. Greetings. So yeah. I was like I said, that was corny. I thought it was corny originally. I thought it was corny. It was alright. That's still the thing. So anyway, this is the next one though. Innovation is nothing without capital. Sorry. And of course, if you think Zuckerberg was the first with an idea for Facebook, or if you don't understand the role of IBM for Bill Gates, then obviously some things are limited in your comprehension of the world, right? So here's this black woman. She's going to be complaining. Again, these are the comrades, you know. They're going to be complaining about shit that they don't understand. So she goes, I'm super sensitive to the idea of folks having to use their image to sell things, push their brand, especially black folk, especially on social media. Time and time again, black folks' innovations, creativity, and brilliance has been consistently undervalued, with the highest profits going to the folks furthest from the innovation, you know? What's interesting is that I was just randomly on like a whole other platform, and they highlighted this tweet, you know, like a pretty popular black blog kind of thing highlighted this tweet, like clipped it, and so I looked it up. But basically, this is a misunderstanding. This is one of the fundamental misunderstandings that black folk have in regards to why we aren't rich. You know, essentially, you need capital to make capital, right? Or you need to have some sort of savings and then kind of risk those savings, or risk that capital if you somehow get capital from somebody else with capital, right? But you need to somehow put your money where your mouth is, right? And good ideas don't do nothing for you. You know, Facebook comes along and dwarfs Instagram. No, not Instagram. It dwarfs MySpace, right? There was a social media site before that. I think it was like Zan something. I don't know. Skonex. I used to be on Skonex when I was like, Skonex was a thing in high school. It was like a high school centered social media site. Then Facebook came along, and it was a college centered social media account, right? A social media website, like, you know, picture sharing and communicating with people who were exclusively in college. Okay, Instagram was a more general, not Instagram. MySpace was a more general use. There was LiveJournal. There were all sorts of things. Everybody came along. In fact, I remember when I was younger, I used to go online to search things, and I would almost always use Lycos. Okay, I would almost use Lycos. When there were like mega searches that came out. Some people use Yahoo search. Some people use AOL search. And then when Google came along, right, I was like, yeah, I'm not using Google. I don't want to mega search or blah, blah, blah. I'm using Lycos. They always give me some reliable, so on and so forth. But then Google positioned itself sometimes where you would get a new browser and it would start off on Google. Or you'd get a new, you know, whatever, and it would start off on Google. Essentially, Google was going around making the big deals with the big distributors. And that's where they kind of like took off. The same with when it comes to gaming and Windows. You know, Windows, a lot of the games that you will want to buy only operate on the Windows operating system. You know, a lot of the applications that you want only operate on a Windows system. And so what it is that you can have a good idea. You can have the same exact idea as somebody else. So, or you could have the best idea. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get anything from it. And people do not reward ideas. People reward sales. Who are you selling to? And how are you selling it? Like that's like at the end of the day, everything comes back to who are you selling to and how are you selling it? And if you're not making sales, that's why you don't have wealth. And it's that simple. You know, with regard to the guy, so the Bill Gates story, the story of Bill Gates is that he doesn't design the Windows operating system. He doesn't, he sees somebody else inside of some computer repair shop who makes his own operating system, right? So he goes up to the guy and buys the operating system from him. He probably makes a few tweaks to it, who knows, but he buys the operating system from some guy, not a loser, some guy, some computer programmer, white guy, okay? He buys it from this guy, and then he goes over to IBM because his mother was like had some sort of connection with them, right? Like maybe she was like, you know, on the board of directors or some shit, right? And they were like, hey, can you talk to my son, right? Like, can my son, you know, give you a pitch? So he goes up to the IBM people and he says, hey, I want to, because IBM is making the computers, right? It's like making the hardware computers. And he's like, I want to put this on your computers, this operating system on your computers, but I want to maintain the right to keep the operating system separate from your business and be able to sell it to other businesses, blah, blah, blah. And somehow they agree. Okay? And that's where he gets his money. The little guy who made who innovated the operating system, he has no connections with IBM. So he doesn't go that far. It's a good thing that he's making. He innovated it. But he just gets the measly offer that Bill Gates gave him. You know, Bill Gates might have said, okay, here's $40,000, right? And the guy's like, shit. You know, that's good money. And then IBM says, here's $10 million. And Bill Gates like, shit, that's good money. You understand? And it all comes down to who are you selling to? And what are the conditions of your sale? Now, you coming along, because a lot of times you'll be on social media, and I can't even tell at this point if it's just a bunch of bullshit. But a lot of times you'll see a black woman say, hey, I can't believe this company stole my design. And it's just basically, you know, It's always, the same design. It's always the same design. A sister makes a dress with a hole in it somewhere. Sometimes a woman makes a dress with a hole in her back, over the back. Some of them make a hole on the side. And they're like, I made an original creation. I made a hole on the upper, on my upper shoulder. It's a tight dress with a hole on the shoulder. And look how this company stole my idea. Look at the comparison. Right, and the company made it slick, and she made it, whatever. But it's whatever, right? But it's like, yeah, okay, you make that plan, you make that, but Fashion Nova or whatever, right, is selling to 4 million people, and you have 5 of those dresses that you made, and you're like, why am I not a billionaire? I made 5 sales, they made 5 million sales. Why am they're a billionaire? Why am I not a billionaire? I got the same ideas. And this is why I want people to understand that this is why it comes back to, why when we sometimes say we build, the wealth of a country, it's like, or why, Haiti declined after the French left, or why a lot of the African countries decline after the Europeans leave, right? A large part of it has to do with the fact that you don't have long-standing economic connections with European countries, with the buyers. If you do not have a connection with the buyers, you probably won't make as many sales as those who do. I'm a smart guy, right? I'm a smart guy. I go to the hood and I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to sell some marijuana, right? And another dude who's establishing a gang, he's going to say, hey, I'm going to go to the same hood and sell marijuana, right? Who do you think is going to sell more? Now, let's say I'm a smarter guy. Who's going to sell more? The guy who has the connections, the sales already, who already has his client list, who already has he already knows, like essentially, they say in sales, one of the more important things in sales is the cold call. And when you're doing the cold call, you're not just calling a bunch of people, you're calling a bunch of potential people. A bunch of potential people that were already vetted for the product that you want to sell. So there are people who go around documenting or doing or strategizing on how to, like, who's in the market for a vacuum. Who could possibly be in the market for a vacuum, right? Or a vacuum of your quality. So it might be, I don't know what they do, but maybe they go around and this person owns this kind of house. This person owns, like, whatever it is. This person has this kind of income. They do their research, and then the cold call is that they give you the phone number to call, and you call this person and you try to convince them to buy your vacuum, right? Whereas the way how we do it is that we don't know the motherfucker from Jane, and we like, hey, you want a vacuum? It's like with me. I got these books, right? And a lot of y'all not in the market for books. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be honest. And I'm like, hey, man, you want this book? Y'all like, no, I don't want no book. I don't want a book. But then there are people who do want books. You understand? In fact, I'll say it this way. I was at the African Arts Fair, International African Arts Fair, and this sister just walks up to me. And she's like, hey, I got this book. I got this blah, 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 blah. And I say, sold. She's like, it's about this black family. I'm like, yeah, look, stop talking to me. How much it costs? No. She tells me it's $10, and I'm like, shit, $10, whatever. I'm like, sold. Give it to me. She's like, but I'm like, shut the fuck up. You already got on sale. Take my $10. That's it. She was surprised. She was like, what? I'm like, yo, this black woman wants to sell me a book about black family. I'm there. The same, I'm walking through, and there was this one person like, here's a black comic book that looks like you. And I'm like, look, I don't want a comic book for my son right now. He's too young for a damn comic book. I mean, like, he has, like, I already have a few comic books that he don't even take to him. So it's like, I'm not finna get him another comic book. And especially if you don't tell me what the price is. But, like, like, that's a thing. Let's see what the comments are. I see, Bit of Medicine says Black Planet was before all that. Exactly. But, like, you have to, like, know what you're selling to. Because, again, you have to, again, like, with regard to Black Planet, like, let's say, what were the ads like? Because these people made money off of ads. And, of course, these people also made money off of... One of the things that Dell, for instance, did was that Dell would sell these computers to the Schools. That's something I noticed when I was a kid. I was like, damn, they got Dell computers all throughout the school. So once you make that deal with the schools, you getting big money. You got to know who to sell to. Now, like Black Planet, you only going to sell that to black folk. You ain't going to sell that to schools. You know? Alfred Booty says, Lycos is a black search engine. Nah, Lycos is not no black search engine. Lycos was like one of the earlier search engines in search engine history. You know what I mean? Like before there was Google, there was like Yahoo search and Lycos had like a dog at the time. This was like in the 90s and shit. You know, I was like 10. You know what I mean? like you know what I mean? Like I was, you know, it was a long time ago. It's Lycos with a C. Let me see if I'm hesitant to search it because of you know, you never know what you're going to get when you just randomly search things online. But let's see if I could. I mean, I'm not going to go to the website. I don't know if the website even still exists. But yeah, so it's a web search engine, web portal established in 1994, spun out of Carnegie Mellon. So it's just a website, 450 million. It used to be a pretty big. Look at that. Does anyone still use Lycos? It says Lycos still going strong. Nostalgic branch like Angel Fire, Tripod in Gainesville. So these were like for instance, before WordPress, we had Angel Fire and Tripod. That's how people used to make their own websites. Revenue is only $250 million. And again, this preceded Google. So I mean, I don't know if it preceded Google. I said 1994, but Google wasn't big until like pretty much after 1994. Yeah. So yeah, see, founded in 1998. So basically there was like a good 4 years before Google when, and now Google's like the biggest thing. So you saw Lycos had 250 million revenue. Google is like one of the biggest freaking companies on the planet. So you see the other one had like, I think it was like 450 employees. This one has 139,000. I don't know what the revenue is. Let me see, but it's like I mean I don't know, but I'm pretty sure this is like one of the bigger companies on the world. It says often referred to as the most powerful company in the world. But again, like the other company had a head start. You know, it's not a matter of you have a good idea and therefore whatever. So the revenue for Google is $257 billion. So it's like 1,000 times as much as Lycos. Whereas Lycos was a cool thing. It had a little dog, I think. I don't know if they still have the dog. Yeah, a little dog. And then you could just search it, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so, but yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter if you have the better idea. You know? I mean, Google did come around with like being a mega search. And there were websites that said mega searches that used to like compile all the other searches, engines, and so on and so forth. Google probably now integrates artificial intelligence, all that kind of stuff. But the point being that it's not enough to have a good idea. And black folk thinking, hey, I have a good idea, therefore I should be rich. That's not how the world really works. You have to be connected to the buyers. What Dell did, Dell Computer was making computers. Everybody else is making computers. IBM, right? The people who started off Bill Gates' career, more or less. IBM ain't doing shit right now. They never made computers. They made printers and shit. And then when printers and stuff are no longer whatever, they're not as big as Microsoft. You know, so you can look up IBM. Like you can't even like buy the shit from them. Okay, so that's a pretty good revenue though. I ain't gonna hold y'all. But IBM is like, what do they sell now? Like they basically sell to businesses. They no longer sell like personal things anymore. Products and solutions. You could check them out. So like they're still active. You see that? That's some pretty good industries and stuff. But and of course, you know, some of y'all probably heard me when I said IBM, you know, like what? IBM's doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, IBM is pretty cool. But they're going down another niche. But once upon a time, once upon a time you could have bought printers for them. Now you can't. That's what it was. You can't even buy printers from them anymore because they're just focusing on other things, like solution based and they're all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that, you know, like they never went to the computer thing. Whereas Dell, like I said, they would sell to schools and like, you know, public schools and this kind of stuff. And that would be a lot of money infused. So you have to connect to the buyer. You have to connect to the buyer. Like for instance, with me, I'm writing pro-black compendium in the Book of Power. Most black folk are Pan-Africanists. And by Pan-Africanist, what I mean is that if you write down, hey, these are the great things that Amos Wilson said, they'll probably want to buy that. If you write down, hey, these are the good, in fact, if you put somebody else's name, you say Marcus Garvey, Marcus Garvey's secret, blah, 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 they want to buy that. Or Willie Lynch letter, you say, this is the secret letter white man will put out, they want to spread that. Because it's like that's what they're looking for. That's what the buyer is looking for. They're looking for the John Henry Clark. They're looking for the Chance Williams. They're looking for the Amos Wilson. They're not looking for the new idea. They're not looking for the solutions. They're looking to go on the social circles and seem well-informed because they know what Dr. Clark said. You understand? They want to seem well-informed because they know what Amos Wilson said. The celebrities. And I mean, no disrespect to the celebrities, right? But I'm telling you that you got to understand the buyer. And the mindset of, well, what about if you have a better idea? That doesn't mean anything in the real world. Lycos had the search engine first. Well, not first, but it had a search engine, already, and it's pretty much nothing now. You understand? Most people think it's dead. MySpace was a thing. It used to be like everybody had a MySpace. It was the commercial platform. It's gone. You have Twitter. You have Instagram. You have Facebook. Skonex was the website that pretty much had the same idea as so y'all can see Skonex. So that's why I said when I was in high school, this was a thing. Social networking site for teenagers that was purchased in 2006. Founded in 2004, purchased in 2006, merged into teen.com in 2008. But it was a whole social media site for teenagers. A lot of y'all not even heard of it. And Facebook, for those of you who don't know, started off as a social media site for I'm not going to search Facebook actually. But it started off as a social media site for y'all see my search engine? Who the fuck is Tweety She's father-in-law? Oh no, this was the Army of Indigenous by Desert Lee's thing. But because somebody said his father-in-law is probably like a Latino man. Like that lady is actually a mixture between a Latino man and a white woman. But apparently you can't even find no family history on her, so that's interesting. But anyway, Peanut Nasheed or whatever you call her. And she had a real name too. I forgot her name, but anyway, my point though is that so I want y'all to know, I want the comments to know that I hope that was like drilled in, that you have to be connected to the buyers. And that's what happens with regard to African people. Let me see what the other things are saying. Let's see. Afrojam says, I made a comment about Pruitt Eagle and Calhoun experiment running at the same time. Okay, let us know what Pruitt Eagle is. I don't remember that one. Bit of Medicine says, purse idea stolen. You shouldn't reward theft though. Yeah, I mean, like, again, like it's always about connecting to the buyer. Like the real art of sale is getting something bought. That's the real art of sale. It's like, it don't matter if I had a good idea for a documentary if Tariq Nasheed could sell it to a bunch of fools. Like at the end of the day, it's really about getting the ideas sold. I should have showed y'all this video on the Discord. Brother Kofi, which actually Kofi's here. I was about to say Kofi's not even here, and the next thing is him saying greetings. But yeah, Kofi showed this video. Y'all should go check it out. Make sure you join the Discord. Right, click on the link in the description. But there's this video of the guy who used to work with Boyce Watkins, right? And it's the Asian guy, and he's like, "We just selling hope. We just selling hope. I mean, the product that we're giving don't really make much sense in the sense that it's a black education and." There's already a bunch of educational opportunities for black people anyway. However, at one point, they're doing a presentation and Boyce Watkins starts to cry. Like, oh, I used to be so bullied or whatever he was saying. And the Asian guy is like, it was so brilliant. And at that point, we saw the sales interest just increasing because black folk were relating, on all that kind of stuff. And he's like, we're just gaming them. It's really just about closing the sale. ABC, always be closing. That's what the advice is. You like sales is one of the things that you want to study if you're talking about making money, because realistically, that's all you want to do. And I mean, obviously, a lot of us, you know, kind of pull away from the methods, you know, like I don't put down, you know, oh, you know, what Amos taught me, you know, what Marcus Garvey taught me, you know, I say pro-black companion, you know, or whatever, and you know that's fine, right? I mean, but again, you obviously know what would make the most sales. You know what people are looking for. You know what people are searching for. People are not searching for pro-black compendium. They're searching Amos Wilson. They're searching Dr. Clark. They're searching Marcus Garvey. Now, if you're searching, or you're searching Nearly Fuller Jr., you're searching white supremacy. You know, you're searching why are black men, you know, like you're searching some elementary things. They show you what people are searching, you know. In fact, yeah, like they show you, like in fact, for YouTube, the YouTube was actually telling me what people were searching for just like in general on YouTube, and it's like curry recipes. You know what I mean? Like how to cook curry, you know, or what is, you know, why does my finger smell this way? I don't know, whatever. But point is that you know what people are doing. So either you get in, like you optimize the search engines, or you don't. Okay? Either you optimize the search engines or you don't. So Kofi says, greetings. EL is laughing at something, but some message before that was retracted. We're going to just keep reading the comments, see what's going on. Afrojam says, Google got big in the early 2000s. Yep. Yeah, they found it. Yeah, exactly. Afrojam says, Ask and Yahoo were big before. Exactly. The internet crash of the early 2000s killed off a lot of company. Afrojam says, timing is also key. Bit of Medicine says, IBM making big money still. Atari still makes money. Damn, Atari still? Pruitt Ego was a massive project in St. Louis, which was created in 1954, destroyed between 1972 to 76. The housing actually made it worse. Calhoun experiment was first done in 1958 on rats, last done in 1971 to 1972 on mice. Oh, massive projects. Oh, okay, yeah, in St. Louis, which was created in 1954 and destroyed. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like these white folk. Like the thing is this: they're doing the science. And we are just kind of sitting by and just trusting them that they're taking the right conclusions, you know, or they're taking the conclusions that we would take, you know, because most people would say, oh, social density and no, population density and social pathology, then that means that we should not have social population density, right? But these white folks said, oh, let's make some projects. You understand? Because I remember there's this guy, this white boy named Durkheim. He's considered one of the earlier sociologists. Some people say Du Bois is the father of American sociology, but Durkheim is considered the father of European sociology, if you will, or sociology, or whatever, right? But he, I think he's the one who prints something about anomie, ANOMIE, right? Anomie, and I'm just spelling that for the people who don't know. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already heard this because a lot of us went to the same colleges. ANOMA. So yeah, this is a theory in sociology. Anomie. In sociology, anomie is a social condition defined by an uprooting or breakdown of any moral values, standards, or guidance for individuals to follow. Anomie was believed to be possible evolved from a conflict or belief system that causes breakdown of social bonds where an individual and community. So basically, they're like this guy Durkheim, I think it was Durkheim, yeah. Durkheim is studying inside of Europe how, like, what influences anomie. Basically, like, anomie is going to be the alienation that makes dysfunctional and blah 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 blah, and how communities are like essentially crime rises more with anomie, so on and so forth. And basically, he's going to correlate anomie with with not just Protestantism and Catholicism, which is why he's considered an early sociologist, normlessness, all that kind of stuff. But he's basically going to put it into, well, yeah, if you're in an urban environment, you understand? But anyway, and this is a lot of things. This is a quote unquote science, but notwithstanding, they're applying it to you. They're applying it to us. Durkheim's use of anomie with regards to the phenomenon of industrialization, mass regimentation that could not adapt itself to its own inertia, so on and so forth. But basically, increased crime in the cities, increased crime among Protestants, increased, you know, so on and so forth. This is a interesting little, you know, sidetrack, but yeah, you know, they know what they're doing. Oh, the reason why I brought that up, sorry, is because Durkheim is from a long time ago. And yet you then do the experiment with the mice and it just reaffirms what the guy is saying back in the 1800s. And yet we think everything is accidental. But we're gonna move forward. I forget. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more we could say about this, but I mean, if nobody has anything else to say on it, then we can't really, I can't really bring to mind what it is. Calhoun's experiment was. Oh yeah. So all right, let's go to the next one then. So I think we've done with the comrades. So let's see. Oh, do we have any evolutionaries? Let's just double check. Yes. Woohoo! Wait, and let me see. Do I have Fan African? Oh yeah, I have one Fan Africanist. This motherfucker crazy. Fan Africanist is crazy right now. But all right, let's go to the evolutionaries.
Black people just don't get it. We just don't get it. We just don't get it.
We just don't get it, man. I'm telling you. Like, what the fuck? All right, so this is your future. These people are being created by the millions. So I want y'all to see it. Again, you know, compare this to the Styles P video. I'm actually going to step aside. I'm going to play this video. I'm going to step aside and get my kid in the bathroom. But I know what she says.
13 years old. All of you are adults. Adults, right? You can drive, you can drink, you can vote. I don't have that. When I asked my mom if I could be dropped off here, her response was, "Is it safe? Is it safe?" You know, we had someone come up here and talk, and don't teach our children to disobey those who are protecting us. I don't see them protecting me. If you want to talk about those protecting me, I look to those who are standing right now because my trust isn't in them. I don't trust any of you. I don't trust any of the police officers because you have shown time and time again that we cannot trust you. I go to City High Middle School, just voted the top high school in the state. You know what they teach us? Teach us to speak up for yourself. We're IB learners, right? We're smart. None of you are smart. None of you can recognize murderers. You can identify that there is a problem, but you cannot fix it. I don't know much about the law. Again, I'm young, but I'm pretty sure an accomplice to a murder should be arrested. And right now, all of you sitting and doing nothing are accomplices to a murder.
You could, please refrain from the additional commentary. If you could let her finish.
I am frustrated, and frustrated can't even begin how absolutely terrified I am to live here. I'm expected to raise my kids here. I'm expected to go outside and walk my 5-year-old little brother. God forbid we look too scary. God forbid he accidentally is wearing his hood and we get the police called on us because we are window shopping to go steal later. I don't want to keep coming here. Trust me, this is not how I want to spend my night. I don't want to come here. I don't want to sit here and I don't want to have to beg you to stop killing people. That's not what I want to do. I have friends, I have other things that I could be doing, and I'm sitting in front of a group of adults who think murder is okay. And you can't sit here and tell me you don't think murder is okay because you're allowing it to happen. If you want to talk about God, you want to talk about Jesus, I'm a Christian. I don't know what God some of these people believe in, but it sure ain't mine. I have never read in the Bible where he said we should allow the people who are supposed to be protecting us kill us. I'm sorry, maybe I missed that scripture though. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Please, please do not make me sit here and scream another name. Do not sit here and make me beg. And God forbid that name is mine. God forbid that name is any of these people. God forbid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shit. So apparently a 13-year-old girl speaking at the city commissioner's meeting in regards to the murder of Patrick Loya. Like, again, 1.8 million views, which is, and this is the thing too. I mean, this is actually more significant than the woman changing her tire, but it has less views. I mean, it's obviously not something I would want to be seen, but it's just like, just bear in mind that the other video had 3.2 million views and it was a total lie. This, on the other hand, is like a 13-year-old girl exercising what she perceives as courage, I guess. But yeah. Let me see what the comments are. I feel like I already know what. Oh, okay. I thought Kofi was gonna say she was mixed. No, I actually don't think she's mixed. I think that possibly, or like not mixed outside of African American. She might just be, because that's the thing that happens among populations sometimes, or among populations that are dominated sometimes, is that they will become more mixed over time, without necessarily being directly mixed. If that makes any sense. So yeah, she's standing in front of the audience, and of course you can't even tell. It's like she could just have done something to her hair as well. But yeah, this is the future. These are the people being bred by the millions. These people are created by the millions. This is your future. And what it is that, you heard her. She's a Christian. She's doing empty threats. She's believes that, there's delusions of grandeur. She's standing in front of adults. I can't vote. I can't drink. You guys can do that, right? And you'll keep murdering us. Please don't let me. Please don't, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, one, I guess it's advised that I focus on the adults in her life. The mother and the father who let her speak before the thing. But again, it kind of comes back to, you see who's the authority in the country. And you see how it's like, it reminds you of the, and I'm not going to compare this woman with our ancestor, but it reminds you of the Sankofa story, where Sankofa was like, if you men are not going to fight, then we the women will, right? But here it comes to, if you men are not going to fight, then we the children are going to. If you can't see what's wrong with this, and then you see the fight that's left in the children. See, at least Sankofa, she went to war. She took up the rifle, she took up the knife, she took up the strategy. Here you have a child standing, but and the thing we don't get is this. Realistically, this. You go up to these white boys and you have this sort of political ambition, this sort of political threat, this sort of so forth. They actually follow you and harass you. Sometimes for years. That's the part that a lot of us don't realize, that these white people are not playing games. They're not joking. While we may discuss, black sovereignty, black power, blah, 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 these white people are exercising it. And they're saying, hey, look, if you're planning on rocking the boat, we're going to fucking watch you. And we're going to stand outside of your house, and we're going to take videos of you, and we're going to record you, and we're going to make it known that we're doing this shit. Just because you want to rock our fucking boat, because this is our country. You understand? A lot of us don't grasp what it means to have a country. But the white folk are not a lot of us. And I mean, no respect to them, but you have to recognize that in them. You want to honestly and truly focus yourself onto the future, because a lot of this Pan-Africanism, a lot of this will, I want to just read these books. And, I got no disrespect for books. I want y'all to get some books. Yeah, boy. But a lot of this, I want to read some books. I want to discuss this. I want to, because again, you might be like, well, Oni, you're showing me this mangina, and that's not too important for thing. Yeah, I'm showing you something that you already saw. Or not just you, but your people already saw. But I'm still telling you straight up, hey, look, other people ain't playing fucking games. Like I said, I know people who did some political stuff. They were followed, they were harassed. They have court summons. You know, you lose your cool in America, you have a court summons. They're not playing games. This little girl might just end up being harassed over this stupid shit. And while we may, you know, oh man, well, you know, she's probably mixed. I don't think she is, but maybe she is. I don't know. Like, I don't know. She could have done something to her hair. She could have done something. She could have just been born like that. Who knows, right? It don't matter. You know, while we may be like, oh well, she's mixed. I don't give a shit. And oh well, you know, blah 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 blah. And the thing is that she's not by herself. She's in a full system, and they're coming out in drones. And while I'm like, hey, look, you know what we really need to do is we need to build for our own education. We need to do something for ourselves. Instead, you know, crickets. And in fact, actually, this might be a good time. This might be a good time to show y'all the video I wanted to that I you know somebody sent me the other day. This is actually a good time because I want to show y'all what they're turning out for us and what they're turning out for themselves. This is a cool video too, by the way. Actually, I think it was this is somebody who some black man got shot 9 times after telling teenagers not to use the N-word. Some Latinas were like, shut the fuck up. I say whatever the fuck I want. This is just, you know, like I said, you can follow my page at Onitaset. This is some white folk. This guy at SB Wildin. He's this is probably like his picture, one of the people's picture, the mugshot of the guy who does this shit, right? Who does a couple of these websites. But anyway, we're gonna just jump to the video. So this is the video of some white boy. He's telling you what these white folk are doing. I want y'all to see this. I'm gonna get some water.
But it's so important that you watch it all the way through, and you will understand why once you start to see it. And I want to thank this creator for providing this video, putting it on this platform, doing my part to make everyone aware that this is happening. Please go give this creator some engagement. Prepare.
So we'll read it together, okay? As a patriot of faith, I attest my allegiance first and foremost to the kingdom of God and the Great Commission. Secondly, I agree to be a watchman over our nation concerning its people and their rights for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whereas we, the church, are God's governing body on the earth. Whereas we have been given legal power from heaven and now exercise our authority. Whereas we are God's ambassadors and spokespeople over the earth. Whereas through the power of God, we are the world influencers. Whereas because of our covenant with God, we are equipped and delegated by Him to destroy every attempted advance of the enemy. We make our declarations. We decree that America's executive branch of government will honor God and defend the Constitution. We decree that our legislative branch, Congress, will write only laws that are righteous and constitutional. We decree that our judicial
That's their goal. Christian nationalism backing a theocratic dictatorship. These people are Nazis. They will remove the rights of everyone. Everyone that isn't white, male, heterosexual, and devout Christian is the antithesis of our diverse communities in the U.S. We all need to get our asses in gear and go vote. And outside that, we need our politicians to stand up to this shit. Stop cowering and do something about these fascists.
Yeah. All right. So
this video is going to be.
I mean, I think what's important too is that you have this clear example of as this guy is saying fascism or what have you, and then the liberal response is, shit, why don't we go vote? Anyway, let me see what the comments are like. I'm just gonna check the comments. It's a different window. I don't have it left open. Kofi says truth. Learning Curve says Christianity is a death cult that empowers its followers to do unspeakable violence against any other and each other. AL says facts. Agreed. So yeah, you got this stuff. And so what I'm saying is this. Look, Africa, build your community spaces. What you can do in your community spaces is limitless. Here's what Americans do with theirs. I told y'all, so the last book I wrote, I finally hit the head on the nail. I said, look, actually, solution for the races, Boko Waset Nakeru. Okay? That's what I said the solution was. I said, here, if you build your community centers, right? Every other group builds their community centers. These white boys just showed you what's happening inside of their community centers. See, you've never been in other people's community center. So you don't know. They could have been doing this for hundreds of years. You don't even fucking know. Okay? Hundreds of years, they're meeting up together and they say, look, we're watchmen. We are trying to impose our faith onto the government. And they're doing this every week. Their people are reciting. Then they meet you outside and you're like, these are good people. These are good Christians. They're like, hey, how you doing, Johnny? And you're like, hey, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. How's the new job? It's treating me well. Then they go to the fucking church. They go to their community space. And they say, kill those motherfucking niggers. And you step back and you're like, hey, you don't hear them when they say kill them niggers. You just hear them say, got a new job. And you say, well, good for you, bruh. And he's like, yeah, man, Julie, she's graduated. You're like, hey, man, good for Julie. It's really great. She was struggling a long time. You're not in their community spaces. And here's the thing. They're not supposed to be in yours neither. But the difference is you don't got one. Or the difference is when you do go into the community space, you sitting around saying what they want you to say. Well, Jesus, Jesus, and then he fed the people of Nazareth. Wherever the fuck this is, I don't know. He fed the people of Nazareth. Yeah, he gave bread and wine to the poor. And you there, oh yes, praise. I'm trying to give y'all the real impression here. Hold on a second. So, you know what church is like for you. Okay? I don't really know, I don't remember. But I remember some funny stories about some silly things and, better male-female relationships. That what we just saw was a fucking church. That was a church. So it had nothing to do with your church experience. See, your church experience is not, we will be watchmen of our community. We will impose our political will. We will be politically unified and political. That's not what your church is saying. Your church is, I don't know. Like I said, I don't go to your motherfucking church. But you know what your church is like, you know what your church is like. And then that's what their church is like. And then you wonder why they're stepping over you. But every people have community spaces. Every people have community spaces. And if you look into it, we used to practice the same thing. Like I said, I used to have this freaking website, but nobody like y'all like, oh, where are you selling these books? Like I said, I only sold these books after I realized that motherfuckers were selling books, notwithstanding giving out worse information. But here's this one. But I need to read this thing back again. I keep trying to sign this thing, This was actually really interesting. An inductive, ideological, and cognitive profile of the African conscious community. Like, I literally made a inductive and ideological and cognitive profile. This was pretty interesting. It's actually the basis of Zubiri, if for those of you who might not know. But anyway, so this is a Proverbs view. So this is a famous guy. What's his name? Fukia, right? He's doing quotes from the Congo, and it's like, yeah, they're saying this. Let me see if they have it. Let me see if community center. Cause see, I used to always talk about community centers, and then I come upon this book, and it's like, yeah, they're talking about the community centers too. Let's see if it's here. He says there's a community center, there's a center, the center of this other so forth. No, so I don't. It's not. I guess it's not in this one. But at some point he says Boko. No. Oh, let's see what Boko is. He says the public house of the community is the seating of the community as well as the nation. Community unity finds its foundation from Boko, the public house / institutions. Societies as well as people have their roles or life. These roles, I guess that's misspelled on purpose. And Zingu Nakata are rolled and unrolled within social and public institutions. He's like, you need to have your own public institutions. He says the common and public house is a symbol of an alive community. The Yamba Boko is the point of centralization and decentralization of forces as well as of activities within the community. Its animation is a sign of vitality within the community. Well-seated institutions are key to social, economical, political, and philosophical stability of nations. They are not only nations' hearts, but also their brains. Now, I want you to realize this. So, you get all this from Kanda Diamoyo Dimbu Yemba, right? All of this is translated from this. This is what African people used to say. So you have this video. I want to show y'all this video. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So this is just a cute little video of African people. Right?
So today, guys, I'm with my Zimbabwean sister, and her mother's language is Shona. So we want to see if there is any similarities between Shona and Swahili. I will say a Swahili word, then she will also say it in Shona. So let's go. Goat in Swahili is mbuzi.
And goat in Shona is also mbuzi.
Okay. Then dog in Swahili is mbwa.
Dog in Shona is imbwa.
Pig in Swahili is nguruwe.
Pig in Shona is also nguruwe.
Okay, all right. So you guys get it. Basically, two people. Eventually, she's gonna say, "Hey, well, it's a Bantu language." So now you gotta ask yourself, who are the freaking Bantu? Right? Who are the Bantu? A lot of us are Bantu. All right, not everybody, obviously, but a lot of us are. Right? Bantu is just a group of African people that spread across Africa, amounts to a large percentage of African people. So then it goes back to, well, how can there be so many people that have the same kind of language, so on and so forth? Now it's not important. Here's the thing: you see the same words. This is the same ideas. These are the ideas that these people had. So when you look at the words that they share, that they're in common, you also realize that they used to pass along knowledge with just proverbs. So instead of just saying, so we look at the words, we're like, damn, we got the same words. We got to say the same word for goat, say the same for dog. They also have the same proverbs. So they would say, Kanda Dimoyo, Dimbu, Yemba. All over Africa. And then to mean, hey, you need a fucking community center. And if you don't have a community center, you're fucked up. And then I show you the video where the guy where the white boy is doing the same damn thing. He's showing you what he fucking does in his community center. He's showing you what he does in the community center. He's like, hey, this is what we do in our community center. And so for a long time, like I said, this article's from 2013. Y'all see that? 2013. You see, I'm like, hey, let's build. You see somewhere I'm like, where is it? Probably. Well, I don't know. I guess probably not in this one. But like usually in these articles, I would be like, hey, let's build community centers. Where we could spread our, so on and so forth. That's what it is. So there's this one quote. I don't know where it is. It's because it's not on this one. I got to see if the search engine. But there's this really, I memorized this. Vata de Kanda and Bongo Diafwa, right? Vata de Kanda and Bongo Diafwa. Let me see if I could. Okay, I don't. So I don't know how to find the search engine on this on thing. But one of these articles is going to show you Vata de Kanda and Bongo Diafwa, right? And basically what that means is that I think it's like a village or a community without a community center is dead. No, a community is without public institutions so that like a community can discuss its economic, social well-being, whatever, is dead. And the basis of it is that if you do not have a community center, your society is going to die. And yet that's like ancient knowledge, that's African knowledge that let's see if how you do it. I think it might be, yes, you search it. You type $S and then let's say, what was it? Let's do Vata. I think it's Vata. VATA. And yeah, right here. See that? Young men to the front. So you see it says Vata de Kanda Mbongi Diafwa, right? A village without a boko community center is dead. A society without institutions where public freedom is warranted is straight to its fall. This was a proverb among the Congolese. And then you kind of see, I think over here, all right, so I don't know. I used to always, like, almost in every freaking article, I used to say community centers. But I guess I probably got fucking tired because it was like, what am I keep telling you guys this if nobody's listening? But yeah, Vata de Kanda Mbongo Diafwa. Mbongi Diafwa. You see it. You see it. They're telling you what to do. And so when I tell you, hey, look, because I used to always understand the Boko as the first stage, right? Now I'm telling you it's Boko. Damn, Boko. Wait. Oh, Boko Waset Nakeru. Yeah, Boko Waset Nakeru. Now I'm telling you that it's 3 steps, but you still don't have the first step. The first step that our ancestors, when you look back and you see, oh, look, we all share the same words, you have to realize that we also share the same ideas. What were the ideas of our ancestors? What made it so that the Bantu people are spread out to the point where, I don't know if y'all peeped it, but the sister was in, so the Bantu probably start off, I think it was maybe like Western Nigeria or something, so, or like somewhere like Cameroon or something like that. But eventually, you have them in Tanzania and Zimbabwe. Not just in Tanzania's biggest language of Swahili right now, but Zimbabwe. You see these people. You see how they look and you're like, hey, those are East Africans. We're not East Africans. We're different people. So on and so forth. When you look at that, you have to realize that, hey, look, if the Bantu started off on this coast, and yet now the language of the Zimbabweans, the language of the Tanzanians, and you're not picking up on, hey, what were their freaking ideas? And you see, they just lay it out in front of everybody. Hey, this is how you do a community. This is how you build a community. And you're just not, we're just not listening. We're just not listening. And like I said, if I were to be like, hey, this is what Amos Wilson taught me, blah, 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 you might be like, shit, I want to learn that. But then I'm telling you, hey, look, realistically, I'm just going to show you what our fucking ancestors said. What our ancestors said, because I think that whole section of all those quotes, they're in the pro-black compendium. The whole section, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. This is what our ancestors tell us. You need to study this. You need to study what our ancestors. When we talk about common languages. I want to see if I could. I want to see if I can find this African map just to show y'all this quote unquote Bantu migration, right? So I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the best memory. I don't usually use the term Bantu like that, so I don't know. But you could say right here, see Nigeria, Cameroon. This is the region that the Proto-Bantu or the Bantu originally spread out from, allegedly, right? With their iron technology, they allegedly spread out from here. Now Bantu are here. And this is Tanzania, and this is Zimbabwe, right? The Shona are here, the Swahili are here, and this is where the language was. And this is, and for those of you who don't know, Africa is huge. right? Africa is huge. This is Europe for comparison. This is France, for instance. For comparison, France is smaller than this country, than Niger. Okay, like from the diagram. Oh no, sorry, it's not France. This is Spain and Portugal or something like that, right? So these are big ass countries, but they're tiny compared to Africa. And these people spread out across Africa with their ideas, maintaining their language for the most part. And their ideas of, hey, look, we got to build up community centers, we got to build up social institutions. And there were people already there before, but they became the dominant population. And they did all this through intelligent organizing. And then, of course, I come along and I say, hey, look, realistically, our ancestors told us, freaking Boko Wasat Na Keru. They told us this. They showed us this. But because we'd rather be Pan-Africanists, we'd rather, what is that all? Well, I want to know how does white supremacy affect me? I'm a victim and I want to know black on black violence and what's the origin of that? How can I make $1 in America? I want to be able to make $1. Give me a book for that. Your ancestors spread out across this landmass to the point where you see beautiful sisters. Right? Sisters that you yourself, listen to me, you yourself would say, hey, I got no ancestry there. I'm from here. I'm from here and I'm from here. And they're from here. So we have no connection. And they're showing you, oh, we speak the same damn language. Because our people came from one source. Well, our people came from, not one source. I don't want to say that. Because not every African person is Bantu. Or speaks a Bantu language, But if you understand the historical relevance of the Bantu, and just the fact that you would distance yourself from this part of Africa because white boy told you from this part of Africa, right? Meanwhile, this part of Africa speaking the language of this part of Africa, speaking the language of this part of Africa. And it's not like we making it up. You just saw the Shona and the Tanzanian lady. Or the Shona and the Swahili lady. You just saw it. And you know damn well that they weren't talking about nothing from Western Africa. And again, like I said, I printed the ideas. I articulated, I elaborated on it. But I know there's no market for that. I know that. I don't mind. I just let y'all slide. You give out the information, you let it slide. You say, hey, you know what? I tried my best. Gave the old college effort. But you see what these white boys are doing with the same information. All right? Or with less information. You see what white boys are doing with less information. Anyway, see what the comments are like. Let's see. Oh, cool. We do have comments. I was about to say nobody was commented. All right. Manamatapa, if y'all know who Manamatapa is, I mean, historically, Manamatapa is an important African civilization, in fact. But, says CV, SKL Kebulan says, law enforcement molds the bravest men like Play-Doh. There's a need for the scientific minds in African linguistics. So that's why I like Asara Motep. Asara Motep is one of the better African linguists of today, really good brother. In fact, he actually looks a lot into the Bantu Congo languages and the Bantu Congo thing. I actually met him at the International African Arts Fair. Good brother. He's surprisingly, hefty. You know what I mean? Like he's tall and just seems like a big guy. Not too much taller than me, but like he looks like he's like much. Yeah. But anyway, like a good brother. Like surprisingly, it's really cool. I told him he looked like one of my older brothers, or my oldest brother. But my oldest brother's a coon, so. It is what it is. So yeah. So there's a need for the scientific minds in African linguistics. So yeah, make sure y'all check out Asar Hamatep. He's actually like my top 2 favorite scholars in America. All right. So EL says, I agree. We Africans generally don't meet unless it's at church. Yeah. or the club or some shit. But like, you have to understand that other people are meeting for political reasons, and that's what I'm saying. If you want to, like, I'm telling you, I've been saying. Well, I used to want to build a community center in America. I stopped with that. That's why you don't hear me organizing in America. I intend to go to Africa, have me a community space, and I expect you to go to Africa and have yourself a community space too, because that's where the political parties come through. Now, of course, you might, depending on where you go, you might have to keep it low key. You know, you might have to keep it a little secret. You might not be able to meet in person, but I would advise you go meet in person. So Trigger Happy says, even in the Khan philosophies, personhood is valued the most or realized the most through community. A person is a person if they are connected to other people. That's what I'm saying. We social animals. We know that. Trigger Happy says, and there is a distinction. There's a distinction between human and person. The human is biological, but the person is fully realized because of their connection to others. Yeah, and this is a bad too. I mean, I'm telling you, like, you pick up Fukia's book on this, the one that he copied all this shit from, that he put all this stuff in, because he's walking around, he's just questioning people on what are the proverbs in the community, and that's what they're saying. They're talking about deep ass thoughts in like one sentence. You know, we used to. Like we used to be like, oh, but African people say sayings and they don't have things. They're communicating these deep ass thoughts in one sentence, and he's putting it down in this book. And I'm like, hey, shit, I'm gonna put it out in my book too, right? But he's putting it out in this book, and he's like, this is where it's at, and this is the belief system of our ancestors. But instead of, that's why I tell y'all don't understand. I'll be like, yo, we need to pull away from this American centeredness. Because a lot of the scholars we like are just very American centered and don't realize our connection. That's why I said I like Asar Motep and I like Adirafo, because even though they're in America, they're not American centered. They understand where the source of our cultures are from. They understand, look into the Bantu. They understand, look into the Kemichu. They understand, look into the Swahili. Look into the Akan. Look into the Twi. You know, Adirafo connects the Twi with the ancient Egyptian, as well as just kind of really exploring the Twi ideas, like really deeply. And the same with Asar Motep, he looks into the Bantu instead, you know? And so when I met him, I was like, hey, I remember you were talking about Kimoyo. Right? Kimoyo, he's like, oh, it's about, you know, it's like, it's the African spirituality. It's the word for African spirituality. And he's like, it's about life. It's about improving your life, health, and prosperity in that way. And I'm like, so I met him and I'm like, hey, brother, you know, this parallels, you know, what the ancient Egyptians used to say to each other about Anku Ja Seneb. Right? Anku Ja Seneb, life, health, and wealth. And he's like, oh yeah, that parallel, I'm not going to say it's directly descended, but yeah, that's the African spiritual system. I'm not going to say it's connected to the Egyptian because there's no evidence of that per se. But yeah, if you could see that in the Bantu, in the Congolese, how they were emphasizing life, health, wealth, and then you're going to see that you've seen it in ancient Egypt. They used to say that in ancient Egypt. They used to say that. Uncle Johnson Neb. In fact, if y'all listen to my podcast, you go back to my podcast, you hear me at the end where I'm like, Chevy Hotep, Uncle Johnson Neb. What do you think I'm saying? What language do you think I'm speaking? And he's like, hey, Kimoyo is the same thing. And he's not saying Kimoyo is the same thing because he's like, oh, I saw it in Egypt, therefore it's the same. No, he's saying he studied the Congolese, and they were saying it. Not based off of Egypt. They were saying it because that's what it is. That's what African spirituality is about. And then here you got this American-centered mysticism where you say, oh, I'm a spiritual person. You know, I don't eat pork. You know, some dumb shit like that. I'm a spiritual person. I could dream and teleport. You know, I could teleport in my dreams. I could wake myself up. I got an astral projection. I wear crystals and shit. And he's telling you, nah, spirituality is about developing your life, developing your health, and developing your wealth. Mechanisms to live a good life and be a productive individual. That's what spirituality is supposed to be. And then you know, like I said, I'm telling you, you know, and this is what I'm saying. Like, And see, I'm saying like sometimes you should just buy people's books. See, I never even read that lady's book who sold me the book. I didn't even read it. You know, I did tell my son to read it. I don't know if he read it or not. He says he read it, but I didn't even read it. I got a lot of books I don't read. You know, sometimes you're supposed to just purchase, supposed to just patronize, so that people can continue to do what they're doing. Like that's part of it. Like, because part of me is thinking to myself, I'm supposed to write another book, but I don't because I'm like, what's the point? You write books and people don't buy it. What's the point? Sometimes you just gotta encourage other people the way you know how to encourage other people. I'm just gonna tell you like an IS is. I'm just gonna tell it like an IS is. But let me go back to these comments. I realize there's a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, like I like what Trigger Happy just said, because he's talking about, he's like, this is the Akan who are talking about the humanness. You look into the Congolese and they're saying the same thing. What makes a human versus what makes a person, and that community connection. So that means that our ancestors were going around deep thinkers, and we can't even think like them anymore. And when we have an opportunity to explore African thought, we go to American thought. We go to American thought. And this is what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people don't like when I say this. They're like, hey, man, you got to love Amos Wilson too. But I realize it's American thought. I realize that. And I mean, you know, ain't nothing wrong with American people thinking like Americans. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I don't think America's going to set you free. I don't think American thinking is going to set you free. But I realize and I recognize that our ancestors did have freedom. And of course, you know, they weren't perfect. I'll say that. You know, everybody knows that. They weren't perfect. They were colonized. They were destroyed. I'm not going to say they weren't. But when you look at your enemies and see what they're doing, when you see that they have their churches, they have their tithes, they have their community centers, they have their universities, they have their solutions. When you study that, and then you study back and you say, hey, you know what? A lot of them are copying Egypt. A lot of them are copying our ancestors. A lot of them learned from our mistakes. When you understand that, then you say, yeah, you know what? I can't stand this American shit. And we gotta step forward. We gotta step different. Anyway, EL says Africa is at least 3 times the size of the United States. Exactly. And they spread across Africa. SK Kebulon says to EL, the church triggers the brain mechanics reward system. My African tone for Ntu is Ndu with Omo as a prefix. I don't know what that means, but, you know, I want to say one of the things with the church, and I mean, this is like another interesting article, so you guys can always explore this thing. But I think I said something about the initiation system. So this was one of my awakening things. So there's an article that I have inside of the Book of Power that's based off of one of these speeches in the one of these speeches on the pro-black perspective, right? So one of the earlier articles about make $5,000 a week or something like that. Really good. But here's this guy Manu Ampim, who's talking about the 5 major African initiation rites. So he's like, look, the 5 rites are birth, adulthood, marriage, eldership, and ancestorship. Okay? And if you peep it, the church or the religious institutions do all 5 of these. Right? Particularly if you look at all the 3 of the Abrahamic faiths. You know, birth, you have, what initiation is that again? So in the church, you have, for birth, I think, a baptism. Okay? For adulthood, you know, this would be more so the Jews or whatever, but they have bar mitzvah or something like that, right? Or bat mitzvah, one of the two, all right? For marriage, you obviously have weddings in the church. For eldership, you have deacons, okay? So now you're in the community of African people. You become an elder when you're a deacon. And then for ancestorship, obviously the church gives you the funeral. Now here's the thing. Look at this. Which initiation rite do you, as a quote unquote conscious African, do? So basically here, let me say it this way. You got these black folk in your community. Africans. Okay? They're Africans. Their child is born. What do? What do you do special for that child? Nothing? Okay. Moving on. I mean, maybe you give the kid a baby shower, you give a gift, but you know, what do you do special for the child? Nothing. When their teenager becomes 13, 14, what do you give them? What do you do for them? Nothing? Say happy birthday? Okay, cool. When finally these teenagers, you know, they're old enough, they're adults now, they're young adults, and they meet one another, right? What do? Okay, you attend their wedding in the church. So you don't have a community space for them to be married. You attend their wedding in the church. When finally somebody comes along and they're wise, let's say it's like you know, right here, me, I'm you know, let's say Oni's wise, right? What are you doing? What are you doing about that? See, because in Africa, if Oni is wise, you say, hey, Oni, now that you're wise, now that you have that wisdom, come sit over here. You know, sit over here and be somebody. You understand? See, if I were in a church community, I'm telling you the truth, if I were in a church community, I would be rewarded. I would be either a deacon or the fucking pastor. Here, nothing. Some of you don't even have my book. Some of you don't even say, hey, go tell your friends, hey, go get my book. Go get Oni's book. He's an elder. I'm not an elder, I guess. You can say I'm too young. Right? And then when I die, what's going to happen? Well, to y'all credit, when I die, most people not going to know. You know what I mean? Because, you know, ain't no way for anybody to know. You know, if y'all don't know me in real life, y'all ain't going to find that out. Y'all just going to see the podcast don't come and that's it. And you can be like, I wonder if he's dead. You know? But here's the difference. Even when my mother passed, her church gave her something. Not just her church, even her church in Jamaica gave her something. They said, "Oh, we gonna recognize this lady who used to come to our church, 50 years ago. Who would give back to her church 50 years ago." You notice that nothing. You stop doing these rites, but they're doing these rites, and these rites yet at the same time built their community. And see, when I was telling you about this book of Onitaset Kumat, I'm telling you, inside the Book of Power, check it out, go get it. Just you're like, well, I can't afford. You know, like, go get it, go read it. But I tell you in the Book of Power, if I can have the quote, I mean, one of the articles is like one of the things that talks about this is actually you could listen to it on the pro-black perspective. It's like episode something, I don't know, but. It's like you can look at the top. I could show y'all. So you go to. No, I don't want to go to that YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is they're gonna show you some of the stupid stuff I watch. But you go to YouTube, you go to my channel, you go to the playlist, you go to my top 10. There's 11 videos there. One of them is I think going to be the $5,000 blah 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 blah. Right? You check it out. You know, I'll tell you about the initiation and how all these other people have these initiations that we supposed to have. But yeah, you know, the church, like you're an African people. And there's articles that we know this, we study this, we say, hey man, you know what? Throughout Africa they have the 5, these are important initiations in blah 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 blah. And the 5 rights in the African culture, and he's gonna go into the right of marriage, right of also blah 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 blah. Practical application, a few suggestions, blah 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 blah. This is 2003. You know? And I put it up, 2013. Let me see if I say community center here. This is so fucking weird. Like, I used to I think all of my articles had community center, but then it just so happens that now when I need it, it's like, oh, you ain't never put that up anyway. Anyway, look. He says, I think inside this article, he says, it should not be taken for granted that people automatically grow and develop into responsible, community-oriented adults. It should not be taken into granted that people automatically grow and develop into responsible, community-oriented adults. I'm going to pull Umar Johnson and say it a third time. It should not be taken for granted that people automatically grow and develop into responsible, community-oriented adults. It's not taken for granted. See, because they showed you what they do. And when I tell you, hey, look, this is the way that we've been doing it. This is the way that we do it. This is the way. You Star Wars fans were like, oh shit, he said it. But Mandalorian, right? Okay. Anyway, but this is the way. Instead of, and I'm telling you, I'm outlining it for you. It's like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm just pitching, but like, come on, I'm showing you your fucking ancestry said it. I'm showing you that other people are doing it. They're not taking it into granted that you want to. Like the Republicans are not taking it into granted that you want the Supreme Court to be a conservative judge, a conservative, to push the Bible. They're not taking it for granted. They're forcing it on you. Or they're meeting you in community spaces, they're getting into community spaces, and they're watching you all pledge to commit to this. To commit against who they perceive as their enemies. But we playing games. We playing games in this sort of nation building stuff. We playing games. I realize that. And it's not motivating. It's just discouraging for me. Because I don't play games. I mean, I play games, video games. But I don't play games in real life. I'm a serious motherfucker. All the time. I don't even know how to not be serious. Let me see what the comments are, though. I neglected to do that. Apologies. SKL Kebulon says, the church triggers, blah, 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 blah. EL says, true. Afrojam says, we in the Americas have a lot of ancestry from Angola and Congo, so we are closely related. Europeans admit ease into the Medu nature. Oh, yeah. So EL says, we see Europeans apply concepts successfully and we ask whether it'll work. For example, the world is run by Pan-Europeanism and some Africans ask whether Pan-Africanism will work. Ubuntu, I am because we are. Afrojam says they added ease to the, hold on a second, it just jumped up again. Medu nature. Trigger Happy says, EL, yeah, our people make it out to be impractical when it's the only solution we got. Kofi says, truth, we're very American-centered. EL is doing 100. Learning Curve says, why won't we believe in each other, but we believe these whitey people that hated us. Exactly. We look at ourselves, EL says, we look at ourselves through the eyes of our enemies. Trigger Happy says, essentially, the mechanisms of sustaining your life force, since we could argue the spirit is simply life force, and life force is a combination of all the things you just mentioned. EL says, our enemies have a vested interest in seeing us as worthless and incapable. EL says, our enemies have a vested interest in seeing us as worthy and incapable, right? SK Alkebulan says, the Bantu-speaking heritage of the United States, a book from the 70s. So somebody in the 70s wrote about that. Trigger Happy says, the initiation rites kind of tied to the other discussion earlier about creating good men and women. These rites are essentially like training and testing for the community, and we lack it now. Absolutely. SK Alkebulan says, the African heritage of American English. This is the same author. EL says, I bought your book. I have the pro-black opinion in my hands right now. Shout out to EL for that. Mandalorian, Bit of Medicine podcast says, either he's saying he's a Mandalorian fan or I'm a Mandalorian fan. Mandalorian's all right. Bit of Medicine says, which books is good for initiation rite activities? So he's asking, I guess he's probably asking the chat, which books are good for initiation rite activities. As far as initiation rite activity, as far as what book, I probably couldn't say. Oh, well, I mean, Destruction of Black Civilization has an idea on what, it's not a book on that per se, but it has an idea on the gender roles that black men and black women went through and the age grades and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I think I probably recopied that into one of my books, or probably the Book of Power, maybe. But as far as initiation into this kind of social organization, I couldn't necessarily say. But what I could say is that, I mean, obviously you could always study what other people are doing. But yeah, I couldn't necessarily say. Maybe if somebody has something. Kofi suggests Asafo, A Warrior's Guide to Manhood is a good beginning. So I couldn't necessarily say what book per se. I would just more so say that it's something that you got to practice. You got to practice insofar as you have to say for yourself, what is manhood where you are at, or where is womanhood where you are at, and then just teach that. Just teach that. Just teach it. And of course, as long as it's not like super American centered, Kofi saying Brother Baruti. I know Brother Baruti. I like him. He's actually one of the people who encouraged me to sell my books on Amazon. Because originally I was just gonna sell them like print them my damn self. He was like, just do Amazon, just on demand printing. And I was like, oh, okay. But I don't know. Like I heard him. He sounds a little American centered sometimes. But, you know, again, like at the end of the day, you just have to, at the end of the day, like even if like I used to always complain about people being American centered, and they're like, yo, I am American. Like we're in America. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is what it is. I like Ptah Htp, by the way. Ptah Htp and Marcus Garvey's book, those are wonderful. Zubiri, I like Zubiri, obviously, my book. Zubiri was a good example of black manhood. So those are like highlights I would point out when you talk about, particularly like not just black manhood, but just like black character. You know, Marcus Garvey's Message to the People is like, it's kind of low key in initiation. Ptah Htp, I'm gonna try to write another book. I'm gonna try to write a book on Ptah Htp's book. Ooh, African Philosophy by Obenga. I always recommend that book. That's another good book in terms of African philosophy and African thinking. So let's see. EL says, I loved Asafo. It teaches African manhood. Kofi says, list other books as well and gives African-centered definitions. Might share the book on the Discord. Kofi said his wife is mixed. I'm not 100% sure. I know some people say that. I'm not 100% sure. Like, I feel like I'm realizing in retrospect that what we consider mixed sometimes, sometimes it just, like, it's us just saying that they don't fit the perfect African phenotype. But I think after centuries out of Africa, and of course centuries of rape, what happens inside of America, or what happened in America, was that what was black, like essentially we're coming at black from a globalist paradigm, when black, or like what African American meant once upon a time was basically non-white American, right? So if you were mixed, you were quote unquote African American. And then what happened that recently the definition for African American changed from, I mean, like the word is no longer African American per se, but black. And so it's conflated with black in a global sense, or African in a global sense, when African American kind of always just meant the minority group in America, you know? And so a lot of quote unquote black Americans would mingle with other black Americans under the pretext that they were all just the minority group in America. And so what would come up is that kind of mixed phenotype without them being directly mixed. So I don't know if her parents were, like if any of her parents were white, but it's possible that, you know, you shake her family tree and there's a mulatto comes out. But the reality is that a lot of quote unquote African diasporas, when you shake their family tree, a mulatto comes out, you know? So I don't know if she, like, I mean, so it's really complicated. I don't know if she's, like, I don't know, but I did hear that before. And now that I'm thinking about it more, it seems like a lot of, like, if you go by the African phenotype that would exist in Africa, then sure, you could say, yeah, this woman's probably mixed. But like the reality is that it's kind of bringing a phenotype from Africa onto a population that hasn't been in Africa for 400 years, you know, or for 200 years. And it's just a really, it's really particular, but it just doesn't really align with the reality of the 40 million people, you know, because like I don't know Yvette Carnell's story, but as far as I understand, she doesn't have a white parent, but she would be considered African American, and her parents would be considered African American. And if you swap African American with black, and you swap African American with African, then you would say that she's African and all that kind of stuff, even though she doesn't have the phenotype. But like that kind of touches on to, well, that's really what the fate of quote unquote African Americans are going to be as time advances in America, you know, because they're not going, like if you're interchanging African American with African, then that's the problem. But then at the same time, when African Americans tell you, hey, look, we're not Africans, right? Like we're not listening. We're just like, yeah, you are. And so it just becomes a little bit ridiculous because, yeah, like if Yvette Carnell were to mess with a black man, right, and then had a child, you would say it was a black couple, you know, or an African American couple. Because again, she's like the leader of the fucking African American movement. So it is pretty confusing, but you know, it is what it is. Bitter Medicine says at Kofi, if you have a PDF. Afrojam says, is there a way to purchase without Amazon? Amazon's the biggest fucking company on the planet. I would just purchase from Amazon. Like at this point, you know, it's almost like, I mean, so one of the reasons why you'd purchase from Amazon is because, or one of the reasons why I was advised is because it's on-demand sales. So on-demand sales basically means this, right? I'll do I could probably show y'all the email that Baruti sent me, and you guys could probably see exactly. And this is like Baruti. Let me actually look it up. But the reason why you would do this, because again, like originally I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm not doing no Amazon. I'm not doing no white boys business, right? That was my original paradigm too, right? Oh damn, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me see if I could but yeah. So one of the reasons why I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to do no Amazon myself. And Baruti's like, no, dude, you should do Baruti. Oh, you should do Amazon, because they yeah, so I'll try to show y'all this. Let me see if I could let me see how this works. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just, because it's like I haven't been in this email address for like ever. I don't want to like just like randomly show y'all shit. So we're just gonna, I mean, because we having fun today. We having fun. Y'all having fun? We having fun today. But like, I mean, again, like we have to process this type of stuff on our. All right, y'all there? So this is a long time ago. Let's share the screen again. Y'all see I got a bunch of this stuff. And so this is me and Baruti. And so this is him, right? So I'm like, hey, look, you know, he wrote a comment on one of these stories that I wrote. He said that everybody should read this, and I was so like, yeah, Baruti, you wrote me. And it's like the man who rapes men in prison. This was inside of the Pro-Black Compendium, right? And so he, like, you know, he's giving praise to the thing. I could show y'all, because I was like, what, Baruti? You know, whole fangirl shit, you know? He says, a statement every warrior, potential warrior, needs to read, contemplate, and act on. Abibi Fahodie. And so I'm like, hey, you know, I'm writing another book, blah, blah, blah. And this is what he writes me. He says, Hotep, warrior. I must be brief, because at the moment I'm in sort of a middle of a health crisis. I've had 2 back surgeries, and from time to time, blah, blah, blah. So I've been forced to put aside real work for the time and resume. Therefore, I cannot make promises now. However, once I heal, I'll read your manuscript and comment as appropriate. But please look into Create Space. All of my books are now printed through them, and there are a number of advantages to print on demand. We have one math book written by this guy, because I think I was telling him I wanted to write a math book or some shit, right? I was like, hey, I'm 25 years old or some shit. I don't know. I don't know if I want to click through emails like that, so I'm just gonna not do that. But yeah, okay, yeah. So let me see. So I think it's not that bad. I say, as to Create Space, I long resisted it as well as Kinko's, but as to your recommendation, I looked at the Kinko's and considered making it enough, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I've been on Create Space, but it seems like I need reviews for my book. Would you be able to review online? Here's a link to the Amazon page on Create Space, so on and so forth. But basically, like, his book, because I read his book first, his sesh book, and it was like write books kind of thing, right? And you could print them yourself. And I was like, sure, let me go do that. And then I wrote him about it. And then like, oh, well, the store you recommended, like Kinko's or some shit, no longer exists. And he was like, yeah, just use fucking Amazon on print demand. And so I just took his advice, because like realistically speaking, on-demand printing, the difference between on-demand printing and printing the book your damn self is that you have to put out $30,000 fucking dollars to print the book on your own, because you need to get a whole inventory. So if I wanted to have these books, what I would do is I would have to buy these books at a good price. Basically, it costs money to print a book, right? So something like Zubiri would cost me $2 to print from a normal printer, all right? And then it'll cost me $4 to print from a normal printer. But if I order 10,000 copies, then they'll put down the price to $2. Okay? And so I would print. So if I order 10,000 copies, I then have to spend out $20,000 fucking dollars for the book, and then I would have to sell those 20,000 copies or those 10,000 copies or hold on to 10,000 copies. Whereas with print on demand, what it means is that they're going to give me a better price for selling the book. It might not be $2, but it might be $2.15, right? And instead of me taking up the cost, they just print the book whenever somebody orders it. So now I don't have to hold the storage. I don't have to send out the postage and send the book to anybody. What happens is that they send the book, and then they take a cut of the profit, and I take a cut of the profit, and that's it. And I know what the profit is I take, and they know what profit they take. But at the end of the day, I don't have to hold 10,000 freaking books, and I don't have to go around moving and selling 10,000 books on my own. I just tell you, go to the website that you're already using and order the book. Instead of me holding onto the books and then sending out and then finding a new address for me to send you guys books and then checking with this address and all that kind of stuff and going to the postal service and so on and so forth. I don't give nobody no address now. I don't need to have storage right now. I don't have to pay for storage. I don't have to go move around and go to the postal service every time somebody wants a book. They want a book, they just order it. That's why I do it. And like I said, Baruchi said it. So I mean that's just a backdrop for why I when you say, hey, well is there another way to get the book? Yeah, there's. I mean, but like that would involve me like literally putting in a lot of damn work for no real reason. When it's like easily like it's just me adding a bunch of extra costs as opposed to us just kind of like going with the reality that anybody could do it. So that was it. So is there a way to purchase it, so on and so forth. So Trigger Happy says, yeah, sometimes they just light skin. Yeah, exactly. Not like one side of their family being white or non-black. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know about her because that's the same. Like I noticed that more and more when I was in this this African organization. I noticed a lot of couples, a lot of black couples, a lot of pro-black couples would have like lighter complected kids, and like it actually came to me too. So it's just like, I don't fully understand it. That's how genealogy works, and just the reality that all of us have those impurities in us, right? So all of us not all of us, but a lot of us in the diaspora do have those impurities in us, and we kind of just ignore it. We kind of just say, hey, we African anyway, right? But those impurities exist. So in the Book of Power, I do tell people, hey, in the Book of Power, I do tell people, realistically, if you're gonna have another child or you're gonna have a child, try to mess with people who have that racial purity. Try to have kids with people with the racial purity so that you could breed out the impurities. But the reality is that as long as you're not on the continent, you're not messing with people who are continental, you will probably get those. You will probably, like, the impurities will resurface and they'll combine with each other and make bigger expression. And then the other part of it too is this, that you see these sisters, these are considerably pure sisters. You understand? But you could kind of see, their hair texture's all right here. But sometimes you could see that their hair texture wouldn't be. And of course, you could see their complexions aren't really as dark as others. So, it is like, again, like I you couldn't judge it off of that. But normally you'll see that, Baruti, for instance, is not really going to be 100% African. You know what I mean? So like where the delineation begins and where does it end and how does it express itself? It's like when you point a finger and then 3 fingers point back at you, or 4 fingers, whatever, 3 fingers point back at you. It's realistically, yes, it's possible that, but like if she doesn't have a direct white ancestor, then it just could be a matter of realistically, that's what you're going to find in the Americas, so if you really wanted to, have like if you really wanted to clean up your lineage in a sense, you would want to go back to the continent. And these are good looking women right here, and there's good looking men there too, So if you wanted to do that, but if you're playing with the diaspora, more power to you. You could do that, but like I wouldn't necessarily say that the diasporal examples are going to be mixed as much as, again, the family tree is going to have a mulatto in it. And by saying you're going to have a mulatto in it, the family tree is going to have white people in it. And a lot of people know this. A lot of people know this. It's not a joke. A lot of people know this. But anyway, let's keep going though. Kofi says, yeah, I mean the PDF. Have to edit it first. Bit of Medicine says, okay. Afrojam says Americans have accepted the 1-drop rule. Yeah, they have accepted, and it's like it's down through the line. It's down through it. Afrojam says, Kofi says, a book depository is another good source. Be careful not to expose his email. Who is the author? Kofi. Kofi says book depository is a book website like Amazon. Asafa is by Baruti. So Kofi says be careful not to expose his email. I don't know if his email is private. But damn, you see that? I'll be tripping, huh? Well, I just shit. You see that? I'll be slipping sometimes. Apparently, this is the first time I showed that email, but apparently, that's what I'm saying. People take a risk when they email you. But no, I don't think emails is that private. Let alone I don't think it's that private. But yeah. That's what I was gonna say. So that's I don't know what we were talking about, but that's some sort of conversation dealing with something. Oh yeah, your future. So so back to the original theme of it. So basically, this sister, the little girl, 13-year-old girl, yeah. So it kind of ties back into it. Like, is she mixed or is she just is this just what a Black American is gonna be? And moving forward, because this is not even the worst example of a Black American, you have other examples of this is again, this is not the worst example of a Black American. You have there's this guy, he's he passed away recently. What's his name? I think it's Greg Ford or something like that. Well, so the Black Agenda Report, I think it's Greg Ford or Ford, I don't know. Yeah, Glenn Ford. There you go. Glenn Ford. I remember sitting down and when the first time I saw this dude, I was like, "Is this guy black? What? This was the leader of the Black Agenda Report. You understand? Y'all listen to me. This is the leader of the Black Agenda Report. So this is not even the worst offender. So you look at the sister and you're like, oh man, is she black? This is the future of Black Americans. This is FYI. And you see it all over, but you ignore it. And so, like I said, in the Book of Power, I show out the math and I say, look, realistically, y'all need to go back to Africa. You can't even mess with this woman, because you mess with this woman, you're like, oh, this is a good example of a woman, right? The reality is that she could easily be his mother, because she's gonna have those genes in her too. They just don't, essentially your genotype versus your phenotype. Because your genotype is already mixed up, even if your phenotype isn't. So you might have the good phenotypical expression of an African, but then the genotype isn't there. And then you're going to look at the people who don't have the phenotype, and they're going to have the same genotype. Now, I highly doubt he has the same genotype as her. I highly doubt it. But is a possibility somebody could look like him and have the genotype of her. You understand? It's like how brothers and sisters in the same family can have different complexions, different nose structures, different hair distribution, different features that either feature an African or a European phenotype. But then their genotype is the same. Remember, brothers and sisters got 99% the same genotype. You understand? So basically, they could pass down the same sort of, they could pass down a different combination of the same Wazungu features or the same mixed features. Because I remember Yvette Carnell, I never looked into her, I don't know who her parents are, but I remember the story is that she's the lightest of her family. You know, the same thing happened with Malcolm X, in fact. He was the lightest of his family. The rest of his siblings looking like regular run-of-the-mill black folk, and then Malcolm X coming out light skinned. So the thing is that so then what happens with Malcolm X's siblings is that they can then produce. In fact, I actually saw his nephew. His nephew's light skinned. You understand? What happens is that you carry the genotype. Don't get fooled by the phenotype. And because you carry the genotype, it's going to express itself randomly, arbitrarily. And so when you look at the sister and you say, oh well, she's mixed, and you look at Baruti and you say he's not mixed, but you got to realize that both of them probably the same mixture. You understand? But I mean, of course, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to look into see whether or not her parents are actually white. But it could be that a lot of times their parents are just whatever. Kofi says LOL, and I'm guessing he left out that picture. Afro Jam says, I never knew he died. Yeah, Glenn Ford died. I remember the first time I saw him, I was just like he's just talking to us, black people, what we need to do, we need to blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this guy to the right and left of me, and I'm like, is he black? And he was like, that's the same thing. like we were just confused as fuck. We were just confused. Anyway, but yeah, let's go on. Let's see. Afrojan says Malcolm X had a white grandparent. He had half siblings who were black. Yeah, but like a lot of his siblings, like his mother had more than him, but he was considered the lightest one. Malcolm X didn't have same sibling mother as his siblings. Nah, I think he did, because inside of his autobiography he's talking about no, because I think only the oldest sister was from a different mother, you know, but the other siblings, because what happens is that Malcolm X early in the biography he's telling people that he's getting abused for being light skinned by his mother, you know, so I mean it's highly unlikely that his mother only had one kid and decided to abuse them and raise the other kids after the father is killed. I mean, I don't fully remember. I think eventually I'm talking about, I think one of the early stories I had was on Malcolm X and bullying or something like that. Let me see. NOI. All right, so I don't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hold on a second. That's actually a pretty interesting question, and actually, I'm kind of taking up too much time at this point. So, autobiography. Let's see if there's. I think somebody has the full text up because my people stopped. This is the PDF though. Oh, this is the archive, so it might be. I remember him saying he was the lightest. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so he says, Louise Little, my mother, who was born in Grenada in the British Indies, looked like a white woman. Her father was white. She had straight black hair, and her accent did not sound like a Negro's. Of this white father of hers, I know nothing except her shame about it. I remember hearing her say she was glad that she never seen him. It was, of course, because of him that I got my reddish-brown, marony color of skin and my hair of the same color. I was the lightest child in our family. Out in the world later, in Boston and New York, I was among the millions of Negroes who were insane enough to feel that it was some kind of status symbol to be light complexion, that one was actually fortunate to be born this way. But still later, I learned to hate every drop of that white rapist blood in my thing. So our family stayed only in Milwaukee for my father. So I guess I don't remember if she... I don't remember. My mother was pregnant again, this time with my youngest sister. Shortly after Yvonne was born, I remember, so then her father is killed. But it's, let's see. Yeah, I don't think that, well, obviously he wasn't the only child of his mother, but also, we would have to do like a deep dive, but, I was next in line. So, I was my father's seventh child. He had 3 children by a previous marriage. Yeah, see? 7th child. He had 3 children by his previous marriage, Ella, Earl, and Mary, who lived in Boston. He had met and married my mother in Philadelphia, where their first child, my oldest full brother, Wilfred, was born. They moved from Philadelphia to Omaha, where Hilda and then Filbert was born. I was next in line. My mother was 28 when I was born on May 19th, 1985. So you kind of see... he was his father's 7th child, so his father had 8 children, and his mother had 5 children with him. I'm sorry, I kind of dozed off. He had 3 children. Yeah, so he was the 4th child of his mother, and his mother had another child with him. So on and so forth. And apparently, she looked like a white woman. Of course, he's a Garveyite, and he's like, she's a black woman. But yeah, you see that he was the lightest. You understand? So then the other brothers. Now I don't know what the other brothers. Oh, so Ella, Earl, and Mary. So yeah, so if it's Ella, Earl, and Mary, and we kind of see, so like Wilfred, I guess Wilfred is the question. So Wilfred, who would then be as mixed as Malcolm X. What's Malcolm X? Oh yeah, Wilfred Little. Kind of just look him up, and then maybe you might say, yeah. So this is Wilfred Little, the brother of Malcolm X, and you kind of see that. That's how they look. Now, maybe you could say, oh, well, maybe so on and so forth, but you kind of could see also that he's significantly lighter, and he's not really that light. It doesn't really look too quote unquote mixed, but yeah. So that's the that's kind of the story in a nutshell. Now, obviously, anybody could, in retrospect, say, oh, if I see this guy, I'm gonna be like, get your mixed ass out of here. Maybe, possibly, but it's highly unlikely. Especially in the American environment. But yeah, that's the thing. So look, we doing live research. Shout out to me for doing live research. So let's see. Malcolm X had a grab, blah blah. Malcolm X didn't have the same mother as his siblings, so I feel like I feel like he's accepted the American definition only. Well, it's not that I'm accepting the American definition as much as I recognize that in America they're using the American definition. I don't personally use the American definition, but like I said, one of the issues with us is that we are so American centered, and then we come back into America and we repeat it. I mean, like, and then we're kind of like in contrast to the Americans, when realistically speaking, we just got to leave the Americans alone, because they're going to, like, what's going to happen is that you're going to find that the lineage is going to be watered down to the point where, like KW97 says, Glenn Ford is not black African. No, but is the dude African American? You know what I'm saying? Afrojam says all of his siblings with his mothers are still notably lighter than his half siblings. Yeah, probably because apparently his mother looked like a white woman. So they're most likely. But again, I don't know. But apparently he was the lightest. That's what I was saying. He was the lightest, and the rest of them were darker than him. But yeah, I got you. So all right, we're gonna go on from there. Oh yeah, sorry. So the point was that, so you saw the little girl here. The little girl here could have just as easily had essentially been well, actually no, I think she might have been darker than these people. But all right, so this is just this is the second to last one. It's actually not that important. It's just gonna be guns in Haiti. And I just wanted to give you guys a quote off of that. Guns in Haiti. This is just. Men steal money and bread are the sinews of war, but of these 4, the first 2 are more necessary. For men steal, find money and bread, but money and bread do not find men and steal. Basically, this is just to let y'all know. I think we are actually in the evolutionary section, right? Yeah, the evolutionary section. That this is the real of the world. This is the real method of statecraft in this world. And if this is not what your table looks like, then you might be playing some games. Okay, you want your table to look like this. I'm gonna tell you the truth. You want your table to look like this. Okay? And you're going to have to use these. You know? Like, that's just the reality. I just want y'all to know. Because, again, this is straight out of Machiavelli. He's not talking about African people. He's just letting you know, men and steel find money and bread. Money and bread do not find men and steel. And part of the reason why I even had this quote was because I saw somebody else tweeting this, and they were like, they kind of like shared onto it. I think they said, "Who's bringing these guns into Haiti? What are the points of entry? Who is paying for them? There are more guns and ammunition than food and gas in this country." Yup. That's how it's supposed to be. Now, speaking of which, that's not how it's supposed to be, but that's how it's going to be, right? But speaking of mulattoes and the American definition of black, which I don't agree with, but look, this is the Pan-Africanist, so we're going to talk about the Pan-Africanist. Let's go.
Bullshit.
Shit. Anyway, yeah, so look, I was not gonna lie, I don't know where to put this. So on the topic of only being accused of taking on the American definition, shaking my damn head. False accusations. But anyway, Afro-Jam says all of his siblings. Oh no, sorry. Afro-Jam says Malcolm X descendants who died in Mexico is pretty black though. Exactly. See, I'm saying you'll take him into the black fold, right? The Malcolm X Jr. or whatever. You'll take him into the black fold, but realize that he's going to have a mulatto in his family tree. And so he doesn't have any kids because he was killed. But when they have their descendants, you're going to see these things resurface and you're going to be like, oh, that's a mixed kid. And it's like, no. If you have a mixed person in your family tree, it's going to show up. It could potentially show up in your descendants. White child could potentially show up in your descendants. Tell you the truth. That's how genetics works. If you got two people with white people in their ancestry and they mix together, right? That mixture can form a white child. You understand? Maybe a white child with some Negro features, but it could form a white child at some point. And that's just the reality. That's the misfortune of the world. But let's go on. It says Trigger Happy says this gets more complicated with places like Brazil and Latin America. Exactly. Afrojam says not really. Black and mixed as are very well defined as separate, with the USA doesn't do. No. See, that's what I'm saying. The US. Oh, black. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Black and mixed are black and mixed are pretty well defined in other countries, but in America they're put together. And so what happens is that the quote unquote what African American means could mean black and mixed. You know. Afrojam says one mixed person is not going to happen. Plenty mixed people will. Yeah. So in America, what constitutes black is actually mixed. You understand? And because of that, like when you have like black love and black relationships, a lot of times, a lot of the black people walking around have mixed ancestry. And when the two of them meet up, their kid can potentially have mixed phenotype, notwithstanding not being mixed because they came from what we consider two black parents, which is pretty interesting. And speaking of two black parents and all that kind of stuff, this is probably one of the weirdest fucking videos on the internet. But notice the context. You have Museveni, standing president of Uganda. And so he's going to have a black man, as far as we're concerned, a black man, but of course, like I said, mixed ancestry, right? Who's also race mixing, mind you. But you're going to have a black man who's going to walk up and give him a petition after, of course, in Uganda, they discovered gold. So this is a pretty important clip, and I want you guys to pay attention if you possibly can, because this is going to get weird.
Foreign
Terrence Deshaun.
All right, let me just say, I want to develop a new hydrogen technology in Uganda. The main purpose of this project would be to defend the sovereignty of the country as far as technology is concerned. This is Terrence Howard. This is reported on Uganda. And this is why I tell you guys, get yourself some damn money, because these people, because this guy has money. And like I said, you could do the psychoanalysis and say, this is not a black man, this is a mixed man. I don't know. Like, again, he's just considered an African American. He's just considered an African American in America. You know, maybe if he was in Brazil, you would say this is a mixed man, right? But in America, he's considered African American. And what African American means is black. And because it's black, that means he's African. And because he's African, because again, you guys take this extreme American-centered point of view, right? He's now sitting up in front of an African leader, telling them that he's going to introduce a new hydrogen technology. Why is this actor saying this? I have no fucking idea. I don't. But the Ugandan government, public national broadcasting handle, okay, is putting out, hey, Terrence Howard is here trying to introduce some new technology for us. This is why I tell y'all, get yourselves the bag. Get yourselves the bag so that you could sit down in front of the presidents too and introduce some new industry. But instead of doing that, we playing around. We playing games.
You know, I was born Terrence Deshaun Howard. I've become an actor. You know, I've been nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes and SAG Awards. But those weren't the things that really moved me. As a child, I studied chemical engineering at Pratt Institute, was there for 2 years until I saw that there was an inconsistency with the math there. And so I went out to explore a new way of understanding how the universe works, and I was able to define the grand unified field equation they've been looking for and put it into geometry. And then with that geometry, I was able to put props on that. And what I'm saying is now we have invented a new form of flight that I would like to bring here to Uganda to replace the drones, to replace the helicopters, to replace the planes. We have all the funding necessary. What we need is just a fertile ground in which to build this. Now, this is the geometry of hydrogen. Of hydrogen. Hydrogen. This is the proton itself. So any bond that hydrogen can make, our linchpins are able to make. So we're talking about unlimited bonding, unlimited predictable structures, supersymmetry. And the linchpins are now able to behave as a swarm, as a colony that can defend a nation, that can harvest food, that can remove plastics from the ocean, that can give the children of Uganda and the people of Uganda an opportunity to spread this and to sell these products throughout the world. So we are no longer just selling agricultural products and pieces from the land. We can now sell and take center stage with technology. But the main purpose is to defend the sovereignty of a peaceful place and a peaceful people without having to have our young men lose their lives.
You understand what I said? See, because we could go on and on. Hey, Oni, you believe in the American definition. It don't matter. It don't matter who, because, we say, hey, Baruti's wife, she's a mix. It don't even matter. What matters is this. This man is standing right in front of, because you could say, hey, man, I think he's mixed, I think he's not. It don't even matter. This man is in Africa. These are the Africans. This is Museveni. Okay? Some people, you see this man walk up to you. Like y'all ever watch Spider-Man or some shit? I remember when I was a kid, there was a game of Spider-Man. There's this guy named Kingpin. Right? This is Kingpin. Right in Uganda. This is the bad man. This is the local bad man. You got this American guy come out of nowhere, sitting up in front of him talking about some hydrogen shit. Don't make a lick of sense. Uganda just discovered a bunch of gold. And see, black folk in the comments are like, oh, this has to do with the gold or this, I blame Akon. It don't even, and Akon's another example of that. Akon, he told you what he was, right? But anyway, it doesn't matter. Look at Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever, right? This is what it is. He's sitting up there talking about, I'm bringing the new technology, and he's getting all the buzzwords. The same words I was using. The sale. You got to sell. You got to sovereignty. You got so on and so forth. Protect our people. Protect our youth. He's giving all the buzzwords. But the difference between him and me is that he's sitting up there and I'm not. He's talking to millions of people, right? He's talking to the leadership of Uganda. And I'm not. I'm talking to 5 people. 5 people who are saying, "Hey man, I don't believe in I don't believe in the American definition." It don't matter. It don't matter. What we need to do is we need to equip ourselves with sitting up there and giving the right story. Because a lot of people are mobilized and give the wrong story. And whereas you or I might say, "Hey man, this guy is not an African," it doesn't even matter because Akon was definitely African, right? But you say, "This guy's not an African," that would have been the warning. That wasn't the warning. He's coming here saying a bunch of buzzwords, a bunch of scientific words. His wife is sitting there laughing her Asian ass off. She's laughing her Asian ass off. And that's not much to laugh because she Asian. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what she look like. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you this man is going to have access to Uganda internally if Museveni says yes. And part of the reason why he might say yes is because African people are so American-centered. I'm actually on the Discord. Shout out to brother Keta. I don't know where he at, but Keta was, we were having a discussion on the Discord. Make sure y'all join the Discord, join the discussion. But we have a discussion, and he's like, "Yo, you know what? The African diaspora, especially the African Americans, can save the African people. This is the African Americans right now. Going over talking crazy shit. Because if you're not organizing to promote a sort of leadership, what happens is this: the white boy is. If you're not grooming a leadership, don't worry, that's fine. The white boy is. You understand? If you're not doing your part, don't worry. The white boy is. Let's see if I could. Let's see. Okay, I don't have the newsletter thing. This is the last part of the book. So the last part of the podcast. So it is what it is. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, your boy is Obama. Like I said, this is Obama. Why organize problems and promises in the inner city? Obama, 26 years old at Obama, 26. He was going through the training in order to become the leader that he became. Okay? He's going through the training in order to become the leader that he became. And what about us? What about you? What training did you go through? I'm asking you. What training did you go through? And let's just say that, obviously some of us did go through training, so that's fine. But what training did you go through? I'm looking through this thing again. I'm like, how the fuck do I not have a community center? Once again, did I ever mention it? Or did I go back retroactively and edit it out? I'm so confused at this point. But anyway, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta peep game. You gotta understand what's going on. Let's see what the comments are. Trigger Happy says, in Peru, there's a difference with the self-reported population of black people versus the actual account. Meaning lots of black people are saying they are white or mixed. Yeah, of course. Why not? Again, what does black give you? What does black give you in Peru? Peru is being ruled by another population. It's like black people here talking about, oh, well, I'm Indian or some shit. I want me some land. Afrojam says, who knows what people are writing or if they are even writing anything at all. Most countries that aren't black undercount black population, including the United States. I don't even know if they undercount it, but again, it's it is whatever. Who cares? At this point, what's the future of the black people? Sure, some of them are going to remain purer in the hood, but if you're trying to be social, if you're trying to socially elevate, look at almost all the black people who socially elevate. They almost always go outside of their race, and then they get bred out. Because the reality is that, look, if you want to socially elevate, you mingle with the socially elevated. Unfortunately. Again, you're in the fucking trap. You're in the trap. That's why I say don't focus on America. I don't know no solution for America. I'm a smart guy. Okay? My son is going to get older. He's going to say, hey, you know what? One thing I can say about my Baba is that he was smart. Right? I'm a smart guy. I don't know no solution. Okay? I don't. What are you going to do? You're going to socially elevate and then what? You're gonna be on the top of the pure black family and pure black, and then you want to go to the top school. And where's the top school? Who does the top school? If black folk don't own any schools, who has the top schools? If black folk don't own any schools, who has the top schools? If black folk don't have any industry, who has the top jobs? I mean, it's just common sense. And then when you mingle with people, like depending on where you're at, you're gonna socialize with them. It's like you take your son to the park, and then he's gonna if the park is all black and he's gonna mess with all black people, and if the park is all white, he's gonna mess with all white people. That's just common sense. You're gonna form bonds and social groups among the outsider, the foreigner, if you're in a foreign land. And like maybe in the hood you have black folk, you know, who are propagating themselves, but then they're also killing themselves. You see what the hood is about. You saw the Calhoun experiment. You can't save that. And if black folk can't save that, how the fuck they gonna save the rest of the world? Come on. Come on. Afrojam says, get yourself in position, health and wealth and power. Yeah, connections. But again, if you're in this other country, if you're in the foreign land, the health, the wealth, and the power connections are all from the foreigner. Trigger Happy says, people are writing whole sentences and said sentences are often debated. I don't know why that would be denied. It is very much the case that black people in Latin America do have these problems of, one, self-identity that ties into self-reporting. Plenty of black people who are simply black but will deny it because blackness is more atomized. While it may be true that non-black countries undercount, I remember looking at the black defendants of Chile. They don't look black anymore. They kind of look Mexican, to be honest. Exactly. You know, I mean, the thing is this too, because like when we talk about the black population in America, we got to realize that while we lend to the idea that that blackness in other countries is not so pure and blah 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 blah, the blacks in America are not that pure. Like I'm not even dark, but I'm considered dark skinned in America. When I was in Africa, they were like, "What's this light man doing?" You know. like when I was in a part of Ghana where allegedly my ancestors came from, you know, I'm in that part of Ghana, right? They were like, look at this light skinned guy. And not because of the sun not baking me, but the reality that, yeah, I just wouldn't get that dark, period. You know? Tan all day, I won't get that dark. But I'm dark skinned in America. You know? I'm dark skinned in America. You know, what we consider, like if you were being honest, I don't think the black population is undercounted. I believe it's overcounted. Because essentially you're counting all the mixed people in America. All the people of mixed descent. Like for instance, the guy we just saw, Terrence Howard. You count him as African American. You count him as black. And yet if we went by the standards that, you know, Kofi laid down, you wouldn't consider Terrence Howard black. You understand? Why Kofi saying I'm joking like that? I'm not joking. I was considered light skinned in Africa. You know, I was. I don't know what you're talking about. No, they didn't call me O'Bruni. But look, when you go down that way, you're going to see that everybody is like essentially. I mean, I'll say it this way. In Jamaica. So in Jamaica, they actually differentiate, back in the day, back in my grandmother's generation, they differentiated between black and brown. Okay? So I'm brown complected. Okay? I'm like a dark brown. But then there's the black complexion. And so you actually, it depends on like particularly like you go to Haiti or you go to like a Haitian restaurant, you'll see people with the black complexion. Or like in say Jamaica, you'll occasionally see people with the black complexion. So black is more like, now of course, you know, I'm not talking about like Nilotic black, although you would also see that black. But that's a really common complexion, even in Jamaica, honestly. But get that out of your mouth. But it's really uncommon in I know, I had to yell at my son, he's like about to choke himself. Yeah, like there's the brown. So like a lot of us will have the brown complexion or we'll have the caramel complexion in America, right? And so that complexion, now it depends on which part of Africa you go, right? But I was like kind of in the on the outside of the greater Accra. So I was in Accra, but like on the outskirts of it. And so you will actually find more commonly the black complexion. You understand? And y'all know what the black complexion is. Like occasionally when you're in the hood, you might see somebody who's like a really dark complexion, right? Like that's really common in Africa. And that used to be really common in America too. So I don't know if all y'all have my Book of Power or not, but there was this article I copied into the Book of Power. I can't remember what it was called, but like there's a maid who was talking about this very question. Let me see if I could actually pull it up real quick. I wanted to pull up the website, but I don't remember how I would find it. I mean, I'll probably just pull up the website, just for whatever, just so because I know some of you guys don't have the book. For whatever reason, you just like, oh, fuck the guy. I don't give a shit about. I don't want to read, you know. You know, I don't know what that's about. You know, you're supposed to say to yourself, man, like you're supposed to be like, shit. I'm only doing something. I'll buy anything that motherfucker put out. That's what you're supposed to say. But if you don't say that, that's fine. I ain't even sweating it. Like at this point, I'm just like, let me go through. This is actually a really interesting article because it's like when you read the Book of Power, you're gonna be like, why did he include this lady? But it was let me just. I gotta like search in my book to see if I can find it. This is like a really interesting article. I was like, let me include this person from 1912. Okay, so I'm gonna put the link in the chat in the description for this article. This is a long ass introduction I have. So let's see. Hold on a second. So let's say to begin with, I would say 2/3 of the. So I'm gonna just what you do if you want to find an article is you just search it right now. So yeah, so as far as Trigger Happy's question is, no, they didn't. Nobody insulted me. You know what I mean? Like it's not that serious. They just they just knew I was a foreigner because I just had a totally different phenotype. So like here, so this is it. More slavery at the South. This is the Negro nurse. So this is the unnamed nurse. So I put this article into the Book of Power, and I really give you a long exposition on it, right? And I think I copied it down a little bit. So let's see. I put the article in the chat. Let's see. Trigger Happy says, Afro Jam, I mean, didn't you just mention that there is a delineation between mixed and one drop in those areas? Meaning that being mixed is separated from black. How would they be practicing the one drop rule? Yeah, so they don't have the one, like they're kind of like a one drop of mixture makes them mix, yeah. But anyway, this is the lady, and so she's going to tell you, she's like this. Look, this is what she says. So she's going to give you context about how people look versus so on and so forth. And she says, again, I know at least 50 places in my small town where white men are positively raising two families, a white family in the big house in front and a colored family in the little house in the backyard. So he's like, in the same freaking building, a white man would have two families, one of the black woman and one of the white person. And now she's writing this in 1912, so this is right before Garvey, right? This is right before Garvey comes in, or like around the time Garvey comes in. She's writing this after I think like 50 years of working as a nurse in America, right? So I'm a Negro woman. I am in the past 40 years of age. I am a mother of 3 children. My husband died 15 years ago. She's talking about how her boss, she got fired, in fact, because her boss tried to, have sex with her. And then she protested, and her husband walked up to say, hey, what the fuck? You can't do that. And I think the white man just slapped the shit out of him and I think sued him afterward, and it's like, this is the real story of quote unquote black America, we built this crowd. This is January 12th, 1912. So I could probably show y'all that. Let me see where it is. See, it's kind of hard to like this. Yeah. So like I said, I have it in the Book of Power. I told my husband about it. Yeah. So I could just read you guys this part. It says, perhaps some might say, if the poor pay is the only thing that we should complain about, then the slavery in which we daily toil and struggle is not so bad after all. So she's basically comparing the life of a nurse to that of a slave. And she's just like, but the poor pay isn't at all, not by any means. I remember the first and last place at which I was dismissed. I lost my place because I refused to let the madam's husband kiss me. He must have been accustomed to undue familiarity with his servants, or else he took it as a matter of course, because without any lovemaking at all, soon after I was installed as a cook, he walked up to me, threw his arms around me, and was in the act of kissing me. When I demanded to know what he meant and shoved him away, I was young then and newly married and didn't know what had been a burden to my mind and heart ever since, that a colored woman's virtue in this part of the country has no protection. I at once went home and told my husband about it. When my husband went to the man who had insulted me, the man cursed him and slapped him and had him arrested. The police judge fined my husband $25. I was present at the hearing and testified on oath that his insult offered me. The white man, of course, denied the charge. The old man looked up and said, "This court will never take the word of a nigger against the word of a white man." That's it. Anyway, so then right here you see, fast forward, and again, like I said, this isn't the Book of Power. I'm telling y'all, I don't even know why. Like, this should have sold like hotcakes, but it's not. So I'm like, whatever. You know, white man's laughing at me because he's like, shit, you want these niggas to be free? Ah, shit, boy. Anyway, so look, he says, and again, I know at least 50 places in the small town possibly rang 2 families, a white family, a big house, colored family, and a little house in the backyard. In most cases, to be sure, the colored women involved are the cooks or chambermaids or seamstresses, but it cannot be true that their real connection with the white man of the family is unknown to the white women of the families. The result of this concubinage can be seen in all of our colored churches and all our colored public schools in the South. For in most of our churches and schools, the majority of the young men and women and boys and girls are light-skinned mulattoes. And look at this. Now, this is the important part. The real Simon Pure, blue gum, thick lip, coal black Negro is passing away, certainly in the cities. And the fathers of the new generation of Negroes are white men, while their mothers are unmarried colored women. So what she's saying is this. You knew what the pure African looked like. Okay? But now when you think about African American, right? So this is what the pure African looked like. And this is like the fresh off the boat type of African. And she's telling you, actually, now what you're getting is what we see today. You understand? The vast majority of the quote unquote black Americans, like, because sometimes we say, oh, well, you know, the biggest black population outside of Africa is either Brazil or it's America after that, right? What you realistically have to recognize is that a lot of what is quote unquote black America would be actually mixed people. And they're mixing with each other indiscriminately, as opposed to in other populations where the mixed try to stay with the mixed. In America, everybody is, like, more or less everybody is mixing with mixtures. You understand? And then they're coming up and their children are looking more and more mixed and they don't know why. Or they're saying, well, maybe infidelity or something. But the reality is that actually, if you look at the genotype, it'll explain the phenotype. You understand? But this is also, just to clarify, you guys can read this article on your own, but just to clarify, this is the quote unquote we built America people. And she's telling you, hey, look, I was kissed by some dude, and then my husband wanted to act like he was a man, and they slapped him in his fucking face and put him in prison, and then told him to pay. Told him to fucking pay. The fuck is wrong with you? And the thing is this, like I said, Maddox used to tell us, because and you might be like, hey, well, I don't believe this source. Alton Maddox, one of the most reliable sources you could find. He would tell you that when he was in Georgia, he would see white men walk into a black woman's house. Walk into a black man's house. Tell the black man to get out of his house so he can fuck his guy's wife. Okay, he would see that. My son's here listening to me. He would see that. So again, you know, this we built America shit. Like what? So anyway, let's just read the comments and then just get the fuck out of here, I guess. My son just walked away. They cast all people with mixture as black in places like Chile, Argentina, and Mexico. It is changing in some places due to Americanization. But look, the thing is this: they cast all people. Yeah, they cast all people with mixture as black in places like America too. Brazil had Prestos and Pardo, meaning black and mixed. They even classify all mixed people together, many of whom have no black ancestry. Trigger Happy says, okay, I can agree with that, but places like Argentina, Chile, and Mexico are a lot different from Brazil and Dominican Republic. Black people are like super minorities to that point. Trigger Happy says, where they believe black people don't exist in those countries. Afrojam says, many people in America are mixed from Jim Crow and not enslavement. Exactly. Trigger Happy says, Afrojam, I've mostly heard this secondhand, but apparently race definitions are also seeping into Brazil. Most people in the mixed categories apparently identifying as black. Yep. Afrojam says, yes, Americanization. And then Kofi says, sad story. So that's pretty much the gist of it. That's pretty much the end of the podcast. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Hey, look here. I want y'all to know this. I need to get more watch hours so I can monetize this channel. So what y'all could do, I mean, obviously YouTube won't recommend this, but play the video again in the background. You can put the sound off. Just play it. Just to freaking add up the watch hours, you know? But other than that, you know, thanks for coming through. Appreciate y'all. And, you know, play the other videos. Listen to the other stuff. My son's waving by. He's like, come on, dude. I want to do some other shit. Afrojam says, Kemet always had brown and blacks, though. Kemet had black in Upper Egypt, and it had mixtures in Lower Egypt, because Lower Egypt originally conquered people who were living on the borders of Africa. So the foreigners were living on the borders of Africa, and Kemet conquered them, and therefore so on and so forth. Kofi says, good stream as usual. Hopefully I ain't offend nobody. Hopefully I gave some good information. Articulated. Sorry to Baruti. Y'all, someone's gonna snitch. I don't know which one of y'all gonna snitch, but sorry to Baruti if I exposed an email address. But I'm pretty sure it's a public email address because he pretty much gave it to me. But y'all also see why I said get the book off a thing, because he told me. He said, look, go to fucking Create Space, and that's what Amazon thing was. I'm gonna write some more books. I'm gonna put some more on Amazon. Y'all kind of encourage me. Send me some books. Buy some of these books so I can look at the purchases. And be like, damn, I'm a fucking author, you know? I want my son, you heard my son in the background, I want him to be like, yes, my dad is doing something, you know? Outside of whatever he's doing, you know? But other than that, thank you so much, everybody. Shemim Hotep, Ankh, Uja, Seneb, Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Aman, Mamat, Dua Neche.